Welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show. This is a weekly online call-in discussion show that focuses on the religion of Islam and related topics in juxtaposition to the propaganda of Muslim apologists, the far-right conservative Christians, and other parties of disinformants. The Gin and Tonic Show aims to bring a balanced perspective to issues pertaining to Islam, presenting accurate information in order to educate its viewers on Islamic history, scripture, theology, and politics. Yes, welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show. First of all, I have to paste the link in the chat. Wait a minute, maybe I can use this one. Yes, and in the meanwhile I will citate Surah Al-Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي no, that's Surah Al-Kahf, Surah Al-Fatiha. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. Anyway, now I have pasted the link. So if anyone can join the chat and confirm that everything is working, that would be nice if you could do that. Yes, so this week we are supposed to talk about the Four Imams in Islam. I'm sorry I came a bit late to here, so I haven't prepared everything. So it would be very nice if anyone can join or confirm that this is working. Chat is working for me. Yeah, chat is working, but does the link work? That's what I'm afraid of. Can anyone confirm that that is working? Yes, or you know what? I'm not going to open that. We start, and if someone wants to join, that would be good. And please confirm if the link is working. Because if it doesn't work, you have to start the show. So can someone just test to start the link and see if you can join? You don't have to join all the way, but just see if it works. That would be nice. Okay, so I think it's best to join. This week we had some terrorist attacks. One that was successful. Maybe after 3 terrorist attacks, or 2 that was two that failed, and 1 that didn't fail, unfortunately. Pull-ups. Can you just see if the link itself works? If you can join the Hangout. Can you even hear me? No, I think you can hear me. Anyway, yes, we had 2 terrorist attacks, and I'm glad that so few of them are successful, but unfortunately, some of them succeed, although they often are quite, I don't know, they often do not that good. Not that good work. Ah, dude. I'm sorry I didn't prepare anything. The guy was 52 years old teacher and an idiot. Well, that I'm not going to argue with that. Can someone test if it's possible to join the Hangout? Please. And can you confirm that in the chat, please? Yeah. Dude. I am a problem. Please help me. Can someone test the link and see if it works? And paste it one more time. Yeah, but does it work? It doesn't work for you so far. But did it work for pull-ups? And paste it one more time. Go straight to help page. Uh-oh. That's a bad sign. Let me try. Yes. And let you try. You don't have to turn on the camera. You don't have to do anything. You don't even have to join. You can just see if it works. And if it doesn't work, I will... it worked. Okay. Okay, good. Then it works. Then I see. So if anyone wants to join, today we're going to talk about the Four Imams. Hopefully this Saracen guy will join eventually. Yes. Okay, so we start with Imam Abu Hanifa. Thank you, Lamb of God. Imam Abu Hanifa was born in Christian time 699, and he died Christian time 767. And that is in Hijrah. It's year 80 after Hijrah, and it's and he died 148 in Hijrah. Yes, thank you as well, BJ Price, for that confirmation. And yes, that's when he lived. Was a founder of the Sunni Hanafi school fiqh jurisprudence. Imam Abu Hanifa was born in the city of Kufa in Iraq during the reign of the powerful Umayyad Caliph Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. It's the coin. It's you know, when I'm not the Jinn&Tonic show and I'm having the avatar Caliph. That's the coin. That's that guy. His ancestry is generally accepted, and now it's talking about Abu Hanifa. Abu Hanifa's ancestry is generally accepted as being of non-Arab origin, as suggested by the etymology of the names of his grandfather Zuta, I think it is, and great-father Ma. I don't know what that is. The historian Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi records a statement from Imam Abu Hanifa's grandson, Ismail ibn Hamad, who gave Abu Hanifa's lineage as Thabit bin Nu'man bin Marzban, and claiming to be Persian origin. So he's probably from Persian origin. There's also some called that he was born in Kabul, but I mean, this was a long time ago, so maybe we'll never know exactly. Imam Abu Hanifa was born 67 years after the death of the Prophet Muhammad. So it's not that long time ago. 67 years. You can think 67 years back in time now, and who died then, for example. But during the time of the Sahaba of Muhammad, some of whom lived until Abu Hanifa's youth, among them Anas ibn Malik, Muhammad's personal attendant, who died in 93 after Hijrah. Another companion, Abu Tufail Amir bin I don't see the Arabic. It's very hard to translate things in Latin text to Arabic, so I don't know what the Sabbath is. But Abu Tufail Amir bin Wathil, something, Wattalib, died in 100 after Hijrah, when Abu Huraira was 20, no, when Abu Hanifa was 20 years old. Abu Hanifa is conscribed to be from the Tabi'in. So he is from the Tabi'in because he met Sahaba. And anyone that met Sahaba and is a Muslim is also a Tabi'in. Because he met some Sahaba when he's in his childhood/youth, among them Anas ibn Malik. In 763, now he's talking Christian time, Al-Mansur, the Abbasid monarch, offered Abu Hanifa the post of chief judge of the state, but he declined the offer, choosing to remain independent. His student Abu Yusuf was later appointed Qadi, al-Qudat, chief judge of the state, by the next caliph Harun al-Rashid. In this reply, Rashid, where were we? I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat in the same time. Whose name? I got click OK, turn on webcam. Could do with the spelling of this name in chat. I don't understand, but I continue. In reply to Al-Mansur, Abu Hanifa said that he was not fit for the post. Al-Mansur, who had his own ideas and reasons for offering the post, lost his temper and accused Abu Hanifa of lying. If I am lying, Abu Hanifa said, then my statement is dubly correct. How can you appoint a liar to the exalted post of chief Qadi? Judge. Incensed by this reply, the ruler had Abu Hanifa arrested, locked in prison and tortured. He was never fed nor cared for. Even there, the jurist continued to teach those who were permitted to come to him. In 767, Abu Hanifa died in prison. The cause of his death is not clear, as some say that Abu Hanifa issued a legal opinion for bearing arms against Al-Mansur, and the latter had him poisoned. But this is not something we know. This is more like a almost conspiracy theory. Yeah, Abu Hanifa. Yeah, exactly. If I'm saying Abu Huraira, it's just because you're so used to from the hadith. The source from which Abu Hanifa derived Islamic law in order of importance and presence are the Qur'an, the authentic narrations of Muslim Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, consensus of Muslim community, ijma'. You shouldn't change. You shouldn't. There's a difference between. Okay, that's an Arabic joke. I'm not going to take it. Analogical Muslim community ijma', analogical reason, qiyas, heuristic discretion, and the customs of the local population enacting said law. The development of analogical reason and the scope of boundaries by which it may be used is recognized by the majority of Muslim jurists, but its establishment as a legal tool is the result of the Hanafi school. While it was lightly used by some of his teachers, Abu Hanifa is regarded by modern scholarship as the first to formally adopt and institute analogical reason as part of Islamic law. Qiyas. And finally, Imam Abu Hanifa said, when I say something contradicting the Book of Allah the Exalted, or what is narrated from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then ignore my saying. That is important. Why should I listen to Abu Hanifa or any of these guys and not directly look at Islamic sources myself if I was Muslim. Yeah, that is exactly what all of them are seeing. That I will come to that. I will read a quote in the end of our presentation of these guys, and what all of them saying are actually, don't take my word for granted. I'm just a human being. Look what the Prophet Muhammad said, and look what the Sahaba said, and look what the Qur'an says. The Qur'an, the Prophet Muhammad, and his Sahaba. So now we jump to Mr. Imam Malik ibn Anas. 700 and this is Christian time. He was born in 711 Christian time and died 795 Christian time, and that is 93 after Hijrah. Or he was born 93 after Hijrah and died 179 after Hijrah. The Prophet, correct. He was also, the Prophet Muhammad was also a human being, but the thing is, since he was the messenger of God, and since you have a lot of like guys that make so-called ta'assub on the madhab, so you say, I'm a Abu Hanifa, I follow Abu Hanifa, and I follow Shafi'i. But did Allah order you to follow Abu Hanifa? Did Allah order you to follow Shafi'i? No. He will say on the day on your judgment, Mada ajabtumul mursaleen. What did you answer the messengers? The last messenger is Muhammad ibn Abdullah, alayhi salatu wassalam. According to the classical Sunni tradition, the Prophet Muhammad foretold the birth of Malik, saying, very soon will people beat the flanks of camels in search of knowledge, and they shall find no one more expert than the knowledgeable scholar of Medina. And in another tradition, the people shall set forth from east and west without finding a sage other than the sage of the people of Medina. So that is thought to be Mr. Imam Malik himself. Malik was born the son of Anas ibn Malik, not the Sahaba, but another dude. And Ali bin Shurqayb al-Aziyada is very hard to, when they write in Latin text, I can't translate it into Arabic, but something. Aliyah bint Shurayq al-Azdiya in Medina, circa 711. His family was originally from the Asbahi tribe of Yemen, but his great-grandfather Abu Amir recollected the family to Medina after converting to Islam in the second year of the Hijrah, or 623 Christian time. His grandfather Malik ibn Abi Amir was a student of the second caliph of Islam, Umar, and was one of those involved in the collection of the pergaments upon which Quranic texts were originally written, when those were collected during the Caliph Uthman's era. According to Al-Muwatta, he was tall, heavy-set, imposing of stature, very fair. There's this is hard to understand in Arabic, but there's a funny, don't care about. Very fair, white, with white hair and beard, but bald, with a huge beard and blue eyes. Living in Medina gave Malik access to some of the most learned minds of early Islam. Malik's chain of narrators was considered the most authentic and called Silsilat al-Dhabab, or the golden chain of narrators, by notable hadith scholars including Muhammad al-Bukhari, Mr. Bukhari. The golden chain of narration, or isnadun, consists of Malik himself, I think, who narrated from Nafi', who narrated from Ibn Umar, and that is the strongest chain of hadith. So you have to understand he lived very after the Prophet's death. So it's only two dudes except for him in the chain. So, and Nafi' and Ibn Umar, that's the golden chain. It is reported that he said the Sunnah is Noah's ark, the ark of Noah. Whoever boards it is saved, and whoever remains away from it is perished. The Muwatta, Arabic al-Muwatta of Imam Malik, is the earliest written collection of hadith comprising the subject of Islamic law. It is considered to be from the earliest extant collections of hadith that of Islamic jurisprudence alongside the Qur'an. Nonetheless, it's not merely a collection of hadith. Many of the legal precepts it contains are based on hadith, on non-hadith at all. The book covers rituals, rites, costumes, traditions, norms, and laws of the time of the Islamic prophet Muhammad. What are you saying in the chat? I'll be your bald, bearded lover from Islam. GP, you like to join the show. Can you try to join the show, GP? Yes, because I'm get OCD that no one joins. That only like the kind of... Anyway, I would be very glad if someone can join me here. I feel very alone. It is reported that Imam Malik selected for inclusion into the Muwatta over... Yes, it worked. Or is this Mr. Ike? This is Mr. Ike. How are you, Mr. Ike? Are you muted? No, you're not muted. The sound is working. I don't know what's... Anyway, he has joined in anyway, so that's nice. It is reported that Imam Malik selected for inclusion into the Muwatta just over 1,900 narrations. From the 100 narrations he had available to him, Malik composed the Muwatta over a period of 40 years to represent the well-trodden path of the people of Medina. Its name also means that it is the book that many times agreed upon. I think it was like 72 scholars or something that agreed upon this. So he went to all those 72 scholars. So they what's the word in Arabic? It's what or something like that. So therefore he called it Muwatta. Can you say something, Mr. GP? Or are you mute? Or doesn't my sound work? I can't hear you. Say something, dudes.
I couldn't for a while. I've just been recently upgraded.
Now I hear you. I hear you very faintly.
Microsoft suckers up my speakers and switches to my monitor speakers and monitor microphones. So the PC microphones and monitors that I use get turned off. I've just restarted them.
Okay, I hear you very faintly. Maybe I can say something too, and
he might have the same problem. It might be Microsoft. If you are, you have to go into your sound properties. And
no, I am in my sound properties.
No, Ike, who's also silent. Or is it Abu?
I dismuted him now, and I turned them to highest.
Ah.
I hear you now. Now I hear you a bit better.
Yeah. Well, when you're done, I've got questions.
Okay, I'm just going to finish Imam Malik, and then you can have a question about Imam Malik.
Well, it might be about it, but you'll be able to tell me if it is or not. Off you go.
Okay. Imam Malik composed the Muwatta over a period of 40 years. Yeah, okay, so that's. And finally, Imam Malik said, "Truly, I am only a mortal. Mistake sometimes, and I am correct sometimes. Therefore, look into my opinions. All that agrees with the book and the Sunnah, accept it. And all that does not agree with the book and the Sunnah, ignore it." So he's essentially saying the same thing as Abu Hanifa said, that don't follow me if the book and the Sunnah say something else. Yeah, so he said that. Okay, what was your question? GB, what was your question? Hello. I don't hear them. I don't know why they didn't. I wonder if the other dudes can hear. Yeah, from what I read, yeah. So Imam Malik, yes, he like put a lot of weight on what the dudes in Medina, how they practiced the religion, because if you have to remember that he lived not that long after the Prophet's death. The Prophet lived. Pull up cannot hear him either. But he's not talking right now. There he is. Hello. Okay, but anyway, I heard him there, so that's a good sign. Yeah. So.
Did you just finish?
No, I was worried that I couldn't hear you, but now I can hear you. But please speak louder, because I don't know why it's so faint. But I can hear you, but it's faint. But you can just shout.
Oh, I must be able to do something better than that.
But I hear you well enough. Okay. Yeah, so what is it here? Where are Maliks found mostly? Maliks are found in like northwestern Africa, West Africa. Where else is it? They used to be in Andalus, as we talked last week. There is a map. I can show where the different schools are found. Yeah, but it's mostly Northwest Africa, so like in Morocco, Algeria, and things like that. And Shafia is like Egypt, Somalia, Eastern Africa, and also I think Malaysia and those countries. And Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal is mostly on the Arabic Peninsula, and Abu Hanifa is mostly in like places like Turkey, places like Pakistan, Afghanistan, yeah, those parts of the world. Where is that good? There is a good image. Anyway, yeah, so this is there anything else? There is one story while I'm trying to find this image, I can tell you, that is related to where this Ahlul Kalams. There was I think it was a guy from Iraq that went to Imam Malik's mosque in Medina, or Imam Malik's Prophet's mosque in Medina. And so he said, in Arabic it is, Allahu ala al-arsh istawa. Allah how do you say in English? Hoisted over the throne. Do you say like that? Hoisted? Or no, not hoisted. What's the word in English? Someone help me. How do you say istawa? Yeah. I will come to that. The difference between the school of thoughts. Now I'm just giving you a general picture here of their lives and so on. Okay, so here you can see a map of where the different schools are. Anyway, so this guy from Iraq said, Allah al-Arsh, which means Allah is like heightening himself over the throne. So, and then he said, Kayfa stawa? How does he like not sit on the throne? He is rising himself above the throne. So how is he rising himself above the throne? So Imam Malik became red in his face. You know, he was very fair, as he said. They said that he was had a reddish face. So he became red in his face, and then he said, "Hadal istiwa, this heightening yourself above, is ma'loom. It's well known, and kayfiyatuhu." What is it? Kayfiyatuhu. Dude, I don't remember all these stories anymore. Kayfiyatuhu is غير معقول. It's not possible to intellectualize about it. It's not impossible to know. والسؤال عنه بدعة, and to ask about it is an invention. والإيمان به واجب. It is the belief in it is obligatory. Who is someone is making weird sounds now? And hear myself in the background. Maybe it's Naeem, maybe it's I don't know.
Not bad. I had my mic turned off.
Okay. It's
not trouble hearing me.
No, I hear you. I just hear you quite faintly. But it's okay. I can hear you.
I think when you have to, you're going to have to turn up.
No, I hear you. I have turned up your volume, but I hear you quite well now, so it's okay. This requires you have to do a lot of things at the same time.
Have you thought of cloning new arms?
Cloning myself?
Well, yeah, if you had 4 arms or 8 arms.
Yeah, there are some Hindu gods that do that. I wish I had that ability too. I wish I could have like a stronger processor that can run several operations at once. Yeah, anyway, in my brain, that will say. Yeah, so now I think we jump to Mr. Imam al-Shafi'i. Muhammad ibn Idris ibn al-Abbas al-Imam al-Shafi'i, I know his names. So he is from al-Hijaz, which is the Arabic or this area of Mecca, Medina. He's from Quraysh, the same tribe as Prophet Muhammad. Hashimi, the same sub-tribe, and al-Muttalibi, so he's from the same family, basically, as the Prophet Muhammad, who lived from 150 Anno Hijra and died 204 Anno Hijra. That is 767 Christian time to 820 Christian time. The offspring of the house of the Prophet Muhammad, the peerless one and the great mujtahid, imams and jurisprudent par excellence. The scrupulously pious, ascetic and friend of Allah, he laid down the foundations of fiqh in his Risala, which he said he revised and reread 400 times. Then he said, only Allah's book is perfect and free from error. He is the cousin of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, descending from Al-Muttalib, who is the brother of Hashim. Abd al-Muttalib's father. Someone praised the Banu Hashim in front of the Prophet, where he interlaced the fingers of his two hands and said, "We and they are but one and the same thing." Al-Nawawi listed three peculiar merits of a Shafi: his sharing with the Prophet's bloodline at the level of their common ancestor Abdul Manaf, his birth in the Holy Land of Palestine, and upbringing in Mecca. So Palestine is considered to be الذي باركنا حوله, it's a lot of blessings there. And his upbringing in Mecca, and his education at the hands of superlative scholars, together with his own superlative intelligence and knowledge of the Arabic language. To this, Ibn Hajar added two more: the hadith of the Prophet, "O Allah, guide Quraysh for this." O Allah, the Prophet, "O Allah, guide Quraysh, for the science of the scholar that comes from them will encompass the earth. O Allah, you have let the first of them taste bitterness, so let the latter of them taste reward." Another hadith of the Prophet says, "Truly Allah shall send forth for this community at the onset of every 100 years someone who will renew the religion of them." The scholars agreed, among them Abu Qilaba, died 276th, and Imam Ahmad, that the first narration signified a Shafi'i and the second signified Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, and then Shafi'i. First signified as Shafi'i and the second signified. And I don't make sense. He was born in Gaza al-Asqalan in 150, the year of Abu Hanifa's death, and moved to Mecca at the age of 2, following his father's death, where he grew up. He was early a skillful archer. Then he took the learning, language, and poetry until he gave himself into fiqh, beginning with hadith. He memorized the Qur'an at the age of 7, then Malik's Muwatta at the age of 10, at which time his teacher would deputize him to teach in his absence. At the age of 13, he went to see Malik, who was impressed by his memory and intelligence. Malik ibn Anas and Muhammad ibn al-Hasan al-Shaybani were among his most prominent teachers, and he took position against both of them in fiqh. Al-Shafi said, "From Muhammad ibn al-Hasan I wrote a camel load." Al-Hakim narrated from Abdullah ibn Abdul Hakam Al-Shafi'i, "I never ceased to speak according to Malik's position, and he would say, 'We do not differ from him other than in the way of his companions,' until some young men spoke unbecomingly at length behind his back, whereupon Shafi'i resolved to put his difference with Malik in writing. Otherwise, his whole life he would say, whenever asked something, 'This is what the teacher said.' Hada qawl al-mustada," meaning Malik. Very hard to translate. Shafi'i trod the path of the Salaf in avoiding any interpretation of the verses and narrations pertaining to the divine attributes. He practiced the relegation of the meaning, Tawheed al-Imana, to higher sources, as established in his saying, "I leave meaning blah, blah, blah." This is a lot of thing. I think I jump to, he says, a Shafi'i hatred, the dialectic theology, kalam, was based on his extreme caution against errors, which bear heavy consequences as they induce on the false beliefs. Among his sayings concerning this is, "It is better for a scholar of a knowledge to give a fatwa after which he is said to be wrong than to theologize and then be said to be heretic, zindiq. I hate nothing more than theology and theologians." The Babi comments, "This indicates that Abu Abdullah's position concerning error in the principles of the religion," of Abdullah is probably Imam Ahmad, "is that it is the same as error in the course of scholarly exhortation in the branches. The is that in belief and doctrine neither ijtihad nor divergence are permitted. In this respect, the Shafi'i said, it cannot be asked why concerning the principles, nor how, yet Shafi'i did not completely close the door to use of kalam in defense of the Sunnah, as shown below in the notice on Ahmed ibn Hanbal, Yunus ibn Abi. Anyway, I think I jumped that. He doesn't like kalam, that's the point. Shafi'i did not close the door, right? Blah, 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 blah.
So which school is now right?
None is right. But and all of them says that there's no I hope that Saracen will come on the show, because I would like to discuss this with him.
What school has to be right?
do you
None is
mean?
right. You don't have to listen to anyone.
No, you don't have to listen to anyone. It's just that, yeah, I mean, basically there is no, Allah never says nor in the Quran or the Sunnah, He says, as I said before, ماذا أجبتم المرسلين? How did you respond to the messengers? He never said, how did you respond to Abu Hanifa or Shafi'i or Malik or Ahmed ibn Hanbal? He never said that. And this is what they all talk about. Anyway, this was we talk about Imam Shafi'i don't like the Ahlul Kalam, or he doesn't like Kalam. A major contribution of a Shafi'i interpretation of the law was division of innovation, al-bidah, into bad and good basis on Omar's words about Tarawih, blah, blah, blah. Harmonious, blah, blah, blah.
Those are not real words.
No, that's not right. I mean, I'm skipping that part. It's too much.
Abu, the problem is, I think, well, for me at least, it's very, how do I say it, too technical, too trivial, what you're saying right now. I don't know if following really.
Yeah, maybe it's too technical. Anyway, I skip that part and I say it. Among Shafi'is are the saying, the study of hadith is better than supererogatory prayer, and the pursuit of knowledge is better than supererogatory prayer. Ibn Abdul Bar in Kitab. Malik was asked about Kalam and the science of oneness, Tawheed, and he said, it is inconceivable that the Prophet should teach his community hygiene and not teach them about oneness. And oneness is, and it's probably Tawheed, is exactly what the Prophet said, I was ordered to fight people until they say there is no God but Allah. So whatever makes blood and property untouchable, you is the reality of oneness, blah, blah. Okay, and then we take finally, because there is once more, look what Imam Shafi'i says. And finally, Imam Shafi'i said, when a hadith is found to be sahih, then that is my madhab. That is my school. So he's basically saying the exact same thing as Abu Hanifa.
And
this is not hadith. This is what Imam Shafi'i.
Yeah, but he says if a hadith is sahih, so he depends on other people's opinions.
But it's a general statement. You who make programming, what programming do you program in?
I program.
You don't program, okay. But anyway, you know, you can make a statement.
Really.
You can make a like an if statement, and you can make like in the same way. If it is thabata that is sahih, then it is then that is my method. The point is the principle. That not if it.
What year is this?
When he said that.
Yes, roughly.
I mean, as I said, he lived. He was born 150 after Hijrah, so that is 767, and he died 204 after Hijrah. That is 820 Christian time.
So, if you were to look at it as a case of the Islam book canon, the religious book, all of them, they haven't actually been canonized yet.
No, as I said, the first really hadith collection that was.
That's what he's saying. He's saying that right at that moment, he can't make a definitive statement about something.
No,
Because
no,
it
no,
hasn't
no, no,
been
no, 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 no,
inverted commas
no, 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 no.
proven.
Look. There were there were scholars of hadith around. They
I'm
were
not.
mostly based
I'm,
in.
I'm not saying there wasn't, but I'm saying that if he's saying he can't support a particular question answer, it's because he hasn't got something to fall back on to give him the answer, which would be
Yeah,
the
or if he makes
hadith.
the wrong ijtihad, if he makes the wrong conclusion. Oh, there's Saracen. The link to join the chat is not working. Ah, I paste it one more time and see if it works. Mainly based where? Do you mean the? I think the hadith scholars, the earliest hadith scholars, were mainly based in Mecca, if I remember this correctly. And Shafi moved there when he was 2 years old. And also the first recorded hadith collection was Al-Muwatta, Malik's Al-Muwatta, as we talked about. Oh no, Mr. Saracen is here. Welcome, and welcome to TJ. Hello. I'm gonna lower my level, so if I can't hear Mr. GP, but I heard you quite well, because now it's very loud sound for me in my ears here. Yeah, but maybe I should just continue before we start to have a discussion, because lastly we have Mr. Ahmed ibn Hanbal, who was born 780 Christian time and died 855 Christian time. That is 164 Hijri, and died 248 Hijri. He was born in Baghdad on Hijri, 164 Hijri. He was an orphan at a very young age because his father died in his youth. His father was an activist in enjoining people to Islam. With her patience, his mother taught and directed him to learn religious knowledge. His mother had played an important role in bringing him onto the excellent position due to his knowledge. He learned and wrote hadith from Imam Shafi'i, Hussein Ibrahim ibn Sa'd, Sufyan ibn Abu Uyayna, Abad ibn Abad, Yahya ibn Abi Zayd, and from other scholars at the time. The teachers he cited only the book of Al-Musnad one alone, for were more than 200 people. He cited only for the book on more than 200 people. Maybe my English grammar isn't the best one, I don't know. This is not what I am. Not this. This is stolen material from. Whereas his senior students were Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, Abu Zuhra, I think it is, Mathin, Abdullah ibn Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Abu al-Qasim al-Baghawi, and many more. So Bukhari was his student, and Abu Dawud was his student, and Muslim was his student. Seekers of knowledge at the time were known for their journeys in the pursuit of religious knowledge, especially hadith. Regardless of the high cost and distance of this kind of journeys, seekers of knowledge would travel throughout the Muslim world, where the eminent jurists and scholars of hadith lived to acquire knowledge. Imam Ahmad commenced his blessed journey in the pursuit of hadith in Hijrah 186. 820 Christian time, at the age of 22. He went to Basra, Kufa, Ar-Riqa, Yemen, and Hijaz, where he met a number of prominent great scholars and jurists of the Ummah, such as Yahya ibn Sa'id, Al-Qatan, Abu Dawud, a lot of dudes. He declined himself to studying at the hands of a Shafi for a period of time, during which he learned fiqh and its principles. He was such a devout seeker of knowledge that Imam Shafi'i said about him that there was no one in Baghdad that was more knowledgeable in religion and skillful in memorizing hadith than Imam Ahmad. His great passion for seeking hadith made him bear every difficulty willingly. Despite his great knowledge and high status among eminent scholars, he proceeded to seek knowledge from others. Though his sheikhs and colleagues attested to the ample knowledge he possessed, he did not feel embarrassed at all to sit among students to receive knowledge from others. It is worth noting that Imam Ahmad took the seat of teaching and issuing fatwa in Baghdad in Anno Hijra 204, 819 Christian time, which was the same year Imam Shafi'i died. Imam Ahmad was thus a great successor to an eminent predecessor. His school of thought. Imam Ahmad did not record his juristic fatwas, nor did he compile a book on jurisprudence or assign such a job to any of his students. He disliked that any of his fatwas be written. This has remained the case until Abu Bakr al-Khalal, a student of al-Maruzi, undertook the responsibility of compiling the Hanbali fiqh. Al-Khalal traveled to various places in search of the juristic opinions and fatwas issued by Imam Malik. He gathered such a huge number of fatwas that he compiled a book of about 2 volumes entitled Al-Jami' al-Kabir. Imam Ahmad faced a serious trial that he bore steadfastly. He refused to make any concessions in the process. The trial began with Caliph al-Mamun, declared in Anno Hijra 218, 833 Christian time. He is called to consider the Qur'an creature like all that the Qur'an is not created. Many jurists were forced under torture to agree, but Imam Ahmad and Muhammad ibn Nuh refused to succumb. As a consequence, they were fettered and sent to Baghdad to stand before Caliph al-Ma'mun. While they were on their way to him, the Caliph passed away, so they were returned to Baghdad fettered. On the way back to Baghdad, Muhammad ibn Nuh died, but before his death, he advised his companion Imam Ahmad, saying, "You are a man that people take as a role model. They are now waiting to see how you will act in this trial, so be mindful of Almighty Allah and remain steadfast for His sake." Imam Ahmad acted upon his companion's advice and stood up for his beliefs. He was imprisoned for more than 2 years. Then he was carried to Caliph al-Muttasim, who, I don't know that name, Mu'tasim maybe, who followed in the footsteps of his late brother al-Ma'mun. The carrot and stick approach was used with Imam Ahmad in the presence of the Caliph and his gathering in an attempt to gain a single word from him in support of their allegation of the Quran being a creature. They would ask him, "What do you say about Quran? Is it a creature?" And is it a created thing? And his only reply is that it is Allah's words. With the persistent attempts by the Caliph to win him over, the Imam would get more determined. When despair seized them, they hang him from the heels. They would whip him with the least prick of conscience. Blah blah blah. Anyway, he is tortured. Blah 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 blah. Skip that. During the era of Caliph, al-Wata was forbidden to address people in gathering. He was allowed to go out only for prayer. Circumstances changed, however, when al-Mu'tasim assumed the caliphate. He banned the opinion, saying Quran is creature, and restored Imam Ahmad his esteem status. Upon that, Imam Ahmad resumed his teaching in the mosque. Anyway, so he was tortured and in prison and blah blah blah. But as in a good Hollywood movie, he the end was nice. So he remained his teaching. After a life full of achievement, Imam Ahmad passed away in Rabi' Thani, 12th of Rabi' Thani, Anno Hijra 241, August 30, at the age of 77. He was buried in Baghdad. And this is kind of interesting because of Mr. Saracen, because I found an interesting quote from no one else than Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari, said in Kitab al-Ibana, page 11, "And we practice the religion of love to the Salaf, those who Allah selected/chose, as companionship to his Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. And we gave compliment/tribute to them, and we are loyal to them." This is my translation, by the way. And in the same book, page 9, Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari says, "Our saying/opinion that we say, and our religion that we are religious about, nadinu biha in Arabic, that we hold on to, Allah's the mighty, the majestic book, and the sunnah of our Prophet ﷺ, and what is confirmed from the Sahaba and the Tabi'een and the Imams of Hadith, and we are about that faithful. And about what Abu Abdullah used to say about it, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, may Allah brighten his face and hoisting his levels and reward him with his prize. We are upon what Abu Abdullah used to say about it, sayers as well, and we are against those who go against his sayings/opinions, because he is the virtuous Imam, Fadil in Arabic, which means that he is better than others, and the complete president, that Allah built upon him the truth and lifted with him away the misguidance. Allah used him to remove the dalal, and brightened by him the road. Allah used him to make the true path clear, and crushed by him the inventions of the inventors, meaning Allah used him to crush the bid'ah invented by the mubtadi'ah, and the counterfeiting of the counterfeiters, and doubted the doubters, and counterfeiting the counterfeiters and doubted the doubters. So may Allah's mercy be upon him over the advanced Imam, the most loved, the honored from the greatest. So this is what Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari says about Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. So if you're arguing that Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, who is often called Imam Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, that he is not from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, well, your own guy. The thing is with Abu al-Hassan al-Ash'ari, if I remember this correctly, is that he was Mu'tazili for a while, but in the late part of his life he made tawbah and returned to the madhab of the Salaf. So this is probably what he wrote late in his life. I can check it up if you want. And finally, Imam Ahmad said, quote, "Following means that a man follows what comes from the Prophet ﷺ and his companions. After the successors, he has a choice." So he's saying the exact same thing as all the four Imams said. Do not follow me, follow the Hadith. And this is the madhab. You should follow the Hadith. You should not make taqlid. You should not be tarsab on any madhab and so on. If we're going to go into, if you Google, see if I can find that. Any questions, by the way? Please unmute yourself and say something funny. Hello.
No question, but I say it again. It's way too technical. Way too many names to memorize.
Okay, maybe for me this is very basic, but for someone that isn't, no, for that, yeah, maybe that's for me. This is kind of basic. So for me,
the problem is you if you do such lectures, you have to at least have some presentation prepared for the eye to see and who said that and in which period, etc. Because if you just read a text without any help, visual helps, people will get very well. They listen to you, but I think they don't have any clue about what all
Okay.
you're talking
No,
right
I
now.
appreciate that, because I don't know, like, is this too simple or is too hard? I don't know. Like, for me, it's kind of basic, but
It's too
because-
hard. It's too hard because people, I think most people have no idea what you're talking right now about.
Okay. Okay, sorry, but can you just ask questions and try, so I can try to simplify what I've been saying. I'm trying to find these funny quotes. Oh, here it is, by the way.
Were you saying there was disagreement towards the end, and they were starting to be nasty to these new voices in the religion?
Yeah, like, but the thing with the when I did quite hear what you say, but disagreements. There's not that much disagreements. There are more disagreements within, like, their fiqh, like practical things. But I think that when Ahmad ibn Hanbal was imprisoned and all that kind of things, that's not really. I mean, that was not any other scholars. That was the caliphs.
I mean, a timescale becomes relevant here, because if they were sort of like accepting of all of these different things in 850, but by 900 they're getting very fed up with these new waves of thinking, that they start having to go at the new schools that are coming up in the 900s.
But the 900s. I mean, that is mostly.
I'm picking just numbers out of the air here.
Sarah said, "Can you mute yourself for a while, because it's hard to hear what GP is saying when."
Yeah, someone has to turn me up. You have to turn me up.
I have turned you up, but for some reason it's harder to hear you. I have turned you up to max.
Oh, well, it must just be my line. I'll reboot. I'll come in again somewhere else.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So, Abu, thank you very much for your presentation. Obviously, I was listening very carefully. If I could just frame it for those people who weren't here last week, or those people who are perhaps just listening in for the first time, what Abu did was a presentation on the 4 Sunni schools of thought. Now, this was after me and him had a slight disagreement of what is Islam. Now, my position is that Wahhabism, or as they call themselves Salafis these days, is not part of early Sunni Islam, and it's not part of Sunniism. I believe it's a part of the Khawarij sect. So what Abu just did was try to demonstrate that, and I am sure he's going to expand on this later on as the show goes on, how Wahhabis follow the early schools. I think we've missed one step, unfortunately, if I may just say that. I think for people to understand this, it goes back to the central question of what is Islam. How do we know we're following the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? How do we know we're following what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the commands of Allah? So if we take one step back, if I may, what we need to do is first establish, now in the Quran there are certain verses that are clear. It's absolutely clear. So, for example, praying. We know believing in one Allah, believing in one God, Tawheed. We know that believing in the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the final messenger. That's absolutely clear. Then we
wait. I have to interrupt you here, Sarasin. Last week I wasn't here in the hangout, but now I'm here, and I'm not so easy on you like the other persons here.
Right.
I want to ask you, how is it clear to pray in the Quran?
Okay, it says you should pray. How you should pray, how many prayers there are, that's clarified via the Sunnah, the Hadith. Okay, so but if you just allow me, that's fine. I mean, I'm happy to answer questions, but obviously Abu's had his say. If you just allow me just to finish my points, then I'm happy to answer any question.
Ike, can you write your questions down? Because I think we have to make this structured way. Please don't.
Yeah. So the first point is, we have the Quran, which all Muslims, Sunnis, Shia, even the Khawarij sect, we all agree that that's the first primary source of guidance. Now, like I said, there's certain verses that are absolutely clear cut, and there's others that it says in the Quran that are called muntashabihat, which aren't clear. So these are up for interpretation. Now remember that, because that's a key point. Then we have the second source. The second source is how the Prophet, peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, explained the Quran. So this is via mainly hadith. Now, this is a point that I want people to remember. During 23 years of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I want you to think of hadith as pieces of data. Pieces of data. Rules changed, situations changed. So when you have someone that quotes you a hadith, so it could be in Sahih Bukhari, it's very, very important to know the context of that hadith. Who was he talking to? Was it a universal statement? Was it said as a joke? These are all sort of questions that an academic will need to look at. With the hadith literature, now this is important. Shortly after the Prophet, peace be upon him, died, during the Prophet ﷺ's time, the Quran was written down in small parts, in parchment, on bones, or it was written down, and they said that Ibn Mas'ud, who's one of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, and Imam Ali are supposed to have had a written Quran. Now, other scholars have debated that, but that's a position. The hadith weren't really written down. There were some people who started writing hadith down, but after the Prophet ﷺ's passing, we had Hazrat Abu Bakr, radiyallahu ta'ala an, Hazrat Umar, radiyallahu ta'ala an, and they were very skeptical about people writing things down. Now, even during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, one of the main narrators of hadith, is this gentleman called Anas ibn Malik, who was a servant of the Prophet ﷺ, as Abu rightly said. Now, the Prophet ﷺ said to him, do not relate everything I've said. Also, we had a late convert called Abu Huraira, who relates the most hadith in Sahih Bukhari. And again, he converted quite late on, and he followed the Prophet ﷺ, and he wrote everything. He wrote things down, so he memorized things. But even it's debated whether he memorized everything, or whether what we know of what he said is transmitted. Now, here's the key thing, and I want everyone to listen very carefully. After the Prophet, peace be upon him, died, we had many dynasties that came in. And I said this last week, some people appropriated religion for themselves. So we had the Umayyads. Now, the Umayyads quite easily would make hadith up. Then you had many different tribes. One of the quickest ways to become a celebrity was to say, oh, Muhammad said this. You had then the Abbasids who would make their hadith up. So in other words, if you can relate something and say the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, great, you're massive. You've got status, people are going to come to you. So there's a hadith, for example, the Egyptian army is blessed, and it's a blessed army, and something goes along that army. I mean, it's completely fabricated. It's completely made up. People made up hadith to support themselves. There were 500 schools, according to George Makdisi, who's a Greek Harvard non-Muslim scholar, and I've got his book, The Rise of Colleges in Islam. It's a brilliant book. He says, and according to Dr. Khalid Fadl, he also says there was 500 schools. So think of towns, and every town basically had their own kind of scholar. So although we've got the four schools that Abu rightly mentioned, there were many other schools. There was a school of Sufyan al-Thawri, Imam Uzai. There was the school of Layth in Egypt. I mean, I could go on, but there was at one point there was 500 schools. They would have debates amongst each other, and they would have principles of how they interpret the Sunnah and the Quran. That's the key point. So they all claim to follow Quran and Sunnah. Some schools took a very literalist approach. They would say, oh, look, it says that in the Quran, we're going to take that literally. Others say, no, it can't mean that. It's a figurative thing. So then there you have a sort of disagreement. Now, amongst the Sahaba, you had key Sahaba. So the Sahaba that lived with the Prophet ﷺ very early on that understood his hyperbole, that is the speech, understood his manners, his idiosyncrasies. So you had like people like Imam Ali alayhi salam, you had people like Ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala, and you had Hazrat Aisha, who lived very closely. Then you had junior Sahaba like Abu Huraira. Now these were a great radiyallahu ta'ala, and they came and they joined the Islam quite late on. They gave fatwas, but their fatwas weren't like the fatwas of Imam Ali, Abu Mas'ud, Ibn Abbas, who was the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ, who the Prophet ﷺ made dua and prayed for and said, give him understanding of the deen. It's very important that we understand that amongst the Sahaba, there was the brightest and the best, and then there was people. I've got to be careful how I frame this, because people can misquote me, but there was people who weren't of the same academic ability. So when people, so Abu Hanifa, so let's take the school of Abu Hanifa, which is a school I follow. Abu rightly said he is what you call part of the Salaf, because he was within the first 3 generations, which is the Hadith of the Prophet. The best generation is my generation, and the generation after that, and then the generation after that. That first 3 generations are called the Salaf period. So Abu Hanifa was bang on in the Salaf period. He's said to have met Malik ibn Anas, as Abu pointed out, but also he was also a great lover and a great follower of Imam Zayd, who was the son of who was part of Ahl Bayt. I believe he's the son of Imam Hussein. He also took knowledge from the grandson of Imam Hussein, Imam Baqir, who was in Medina. Imam Abu Hanifa, there were 7 main people who looked at hadith and criticized hadith, because of course, like I mentioned before, there's many people who were fabricating hadith at the time, making stuff up, didn't understand the hadith, misquoting. That's why we have this thing called Ilm al-Rijal, which looks at how it's a science of hadith.
Can I give you 1 minute more, but then I think we have to split this up, because otherwise but you can continue after that, but what
I'm trying to do is just frame the discussion so people understand this.
But you can I just 1 minute, 1 minute from
give me a minute, I'm concluding.
Finish your preaching.
1 minute.
It's not preaching. What I'm trying to do is
right now it's preaching.
No, it's not preaching. I'm trying to frame the conversation so people understand the point. There's no point of talking about scholars and madhabs if people don't understand what we're going through. So
I will let you continue.
Thank you.
Sorry, Sam.
Stop.
I can very easily tell that you're just trying to get your position across. You do not come across as preaching. You just come across as like, okay, I'm going to articulate my position, explain my my point of view, and I don't know why he's saying you're preaching, because you do not come across like that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I will let you continue. I will not.
Thank you, Abu. So what we're saying is, the question is, was Wahhabism following early Islam and the understanding of the Salaf? So that's the key thing to remember for this show. My position is no, they weren't. Abu's obviously articulated that. Now, out of those 500 schools, you have the 4 Sunni schools, but as Fatima said in the chat, I can't read chat because I'm on my phone. You also had the Jafri school, which is the mainly Shia school, and you have the Zaydi school, which is another Shia school. So there's effectively 6 schools. So that's the position. So I'm going to conclude with that. We can have a discussion now, if that's okay.
Okay, thank you. I mean, if you want to say more things after this, it's just that I want to split it up, because otherwise people cannot hold this in their short-term memories.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, so one thing is this Khawarij question. That I think we'll take to next week, because that's a whole topic of itself.
Sure.
What is Islam? Yeah, that's a good question. We take this. Some verses are clear and some verses are not clear.
Are we supposed to ask question now,
what?
Or not? Can we now ask question or not? I mean,
Soon. I give you 1 minute soon when I just said this. Okay. After me, it's Naim, and I'll give you 1 minute.
1 minute. Wow, how generous.
Do you want more? Do you want more than 1 minute? I can give you 2 minutes if you want.
Yeah, he made some claims at the beginning, and I want to clarify this
Okay,
claim.
but yeah, it's gonna say this. The first Khawarij we take next week. He knows that I don't agree with this, but we will take the clear verses. Yes, some verses are clear, some verses not. But I think this is mainly the main issue here is what are the Sahih Hadith? That is the most, and how do you interpret that? Okay, now I'll give I will give you. I have to take a short pause, and I'll give Naim 3 minutes from now. Start.
I take as much as I want, Abu. You don't censorship me.
Okay, but if we try to make some kind of order, otherwise it can be complete chaos.
I think I thought it is a discussion show and not some kind of let people just make claims and not discuss about it at all.
Okay, but if we're gonna have some kind of order, because now we have many people here in.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah,
okay,
sure. Order.
talk as long as you want.
Somebody has a question, you can come up with it. As long as there are no questions, I will make one. Let's take it back at the beginning of your little preach, and I'm staying with it. You have preached a little bit, not much, but you have did it. At the beginning, you made a claim. It is about clear things in the Quran, and you made the example of preaching, not preaching, praying, and even more things are absolutely not clear. That's why we have this whole mess about these schools and these hadiths and the whole stories about Muhammad and his companions, etc. So the Quran is in general not clear. I stand with this point. If it would be clear, you wouldn't have this hadith. It's just naive to say something like that. And I wanted to know from you, how is it that you can make the claim it is clear and bring up the praying issue? And it is not clear. How can you make such a claim at all? That's what I don't want to know at first.
Okay, so you've asked me about clarity in the Quran, and you've asked me about prayer. Okay, the first thing about clarity in the Quran, I agree with you. There are many things that are unclear in the Quran. There's only certain verses that we can get absolute clarity from. Agreed, absolutely. Now, why is that so? You see that as a weakness. As a Muslim, I don't see that as a weakness. I see the Arabic language as being very diverse. I don't see polarity of opinion as a problem, as long as you don't take it to violence. Like we're here now, we're having a civil discussion. You can question me, you will disagree with me, I will disagree with you. The problem is when people turn to violence and, and all of that. But anyway, the Quran, the spirit of the Quran is for rational inquiry. It gives you stories, but it gives you just enough for you to go and do your research. Scholars have debated things all the time, many things. Now for you can come from a perspective where you want things black and white. That's fine.
No, I have to interrupt you here. You made the claim.
Yeah.
Don't talk around it. You just made the claim about it is clear, and the Quran itself says it is clear. That's a strange thing for me. It says itself it is clear, and you said it is clear. And
I said the Quran.
Issue.
Sorry, I said the
and
Quran.
Now I wanted to know from you why you say this, that the praying is clear in the Quran.
Perhaps you misheard me. I said there's certain verses the Quran says are clear, and there's certain verses that says it's not clear. Muntashabbihat. I said that I think most people heard that. I mean, you've come with the approach of being very aggressive, and I think people like you, unfortunately, will never learn because.
No, don't blame me.
No, because you've come. The first thing you said to me was you got an easy ride last week. I'm not going to give you an easy ride. Fine, of course. But let's have a level of decorum where we come to learn from each other. If I'm wrong, I'm happy to be corrected. But come on, let's take some.
You have been wrong, and I'm saying again why you have been wrong. I'm saying you made a claim. You made an issue about it. You made an example in the case of praying. I'm just asking you. why do you say that? Because in the issue of praying, it is not clear. I'm just asking you why you took this example. You are muted. You have to unmute yourself.
And I did say that the Quran says you can pray. It doesn't say how many prayers. Now that is qualified by the Sunnah. So then, as Abu said, it's very important that we know what is the Sunnah, what is Hadith. Now there are certain Hadith that are Ahad. No, but if you listen, if you allow me to finish, maybe you learn something. There are certain Hadith that are ahad, which are sole narrations. Then there's certain hadith that are mashhur, that are very famous amongst many people. And then there's certain hadith that are mutawatir. Mutawatir hadith, which is mass transmitted. This means that it would have been impossible to collaborate these hadith. So these hadith, they are on the status of the Qur'an. The Qur'an is our primary book. It's mutawatir. The reason why we call it a book that we completely put our faith in because it's mass transmitted. Mutawatir hadith are mass transmitted. One of the mutawatir hadith is the prayer of 5 times a day. Hadith Jibreel. You can check that out, the hadith of Jibreel, where it tells us about what we believe in. So that's how that's clarified. I hope that answers your question.
No, it did not, because you're talking just around and around. Well, I don't expect it. You go.
Tell me what you didn't understand.
Honest.
No, what did you not understand?
Don't understand. You claim and you brought up the example of praying, and you say it is clear, and it is not clear, because if it would be clear, you wouldn't have excuses and going around to the Sunnah, to the Hadith, etc. It is not clear in this example. Admit that, or just don't claim that in the future. That's my advice to you.
Okay, I think I made my point. I'll let the viewers decide. I don't think we're going to agree on that.
That's not the point. You're just bluntly. In my case, in my eyes, you're lying in this case.
Okay.
Well, the next thing would be how you came to the conclusion that you have to say every time "peace be upon him" after you say Muhammad or Prophet.
Yeah, peace be upon him.
Is it not an egoistic way of life to gathering hasanat points all the time just because you took it from the hadith, from any hadith at all? I mean, how you came to the conclusion to take this hadith serious?
Exactly, and that's what we're going to be discussing on the show today. The hadith, the science of hadith is incredibly complicated. That's what we're saying, Naeem. There are certain hadith that, like I said at the start, completely fabricated, made up, and there's certain hadith, and there's certain hadith that are very strong, like mass transmitted. This is what I'm saying, mutawatir, and these are the ones that we believe in. Then there's certain things in our practice.
Yeah. Something that you already told us that's not the point.
Okay. So then there's certain
I
things.
want to know from you how you came to the conclusion. How you can say some is right and some is fabricated and some is maybe okay.
Okay, so in the Quran, as a Muslim, I'm obliged to. If I believe in God, then I believe in. I've chosen the religion of Islam. I then submit and I believe in the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I believe in what he's brought. I believe in the Quran. In the Quran, it clearly says, and this is undebated amongst any Sunni, if you do not know, ask the people who know. And that's how we know. So I follow the people who I believe know. And that goes back to the central question. I follow the school of Imam Abu Hanifa. I also believe Imam Malik knows, Imam Shafi knows, Imam Hanbal knows. I believe all of those are 4 Sunni schools, and they are rightly guided. They have many disputes amongst themselves, and at times it was even acrimonious between them. It was even acrimonious between some of the companions of the Prophet, the Sahaba. They said, "Oh, how you're going to him." Their personalities come in. Now, what we're dealing with revelation. Now, revelation needs to go through the human filter. It needs words. Words have meanings. How do we know those meanings? Now, even the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we believe he was a filter. We believe he is the purest filter, but he's still communicating in words. Words can be misinterpreted. Tone, like I said, where you are, who you're talking to, you can come into halfway through a conversation. So this is where the hadith science is. If you look at Muslim history, they have spent so long. Abu will probably back me up on this, even though we disagree on many things, is that they have had a very strong history of trying to verify hadith, and each school has their own principles. So
can I just ask questions? Because last question you said something like many dudes in the time of Ahmad ibn Hanbal did not consider him to be from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So are you considering Ahmad ibn Hanbal being Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah?
So we then have to look at the historical context. So Imam Abu Hanifa, I mean, it goes back to what is Sunniism. Sunniism didn't really exist at the time of the Prophet ﷺ.
No, that's actually false. There is a quote from Abdullah ibn Abbas.
Yeah.
But continue. I will read that quote.
No, please, no.
But I have to find it, so you can continue.
Okay. So my assertion is that there was no such thing as Sunniism. People followed the Prophet ﷺ, and they followed because they had someone to go to. Then in the second generation, you had the companions like Hazrat Ali alayhi salam, you had Ibn Abbas, you had Umar radiallahu ta'ala, and you had the strong Sahaba. People would go to them for fatwas. So they had an understanding direct from the Prophet ﷺ, so there was not really need. So for example, the Sharia, there was no such thing as something, there wasn't something called Sharia. This is a made up word. There's many words that came in to Islam afterwards.
Fiqh, exactly. Now I found this quote because I was looking what was the guy that coined the word Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah? First, maybe I should say what it means now. Ahl means like, it's similar to the German word Volk, is its original meaning. Sometimes you mean when you say like Ahlan wa Sahlan, you can use it for family and things, but it's similar to the German word Volk, or people. Sunnah refers to the hadith, the real word Senna and so on. That's another, but it refers to hadith. Wal Jama'ah and like the community. Okay, so the naming of the Ahl Sunnah has been there since the first generation of Islam in the past that glorified Allah, namely generation of companion of Prophet, be upon him, Sahaba, Al-Qiram, Tabi'in, wa Tabi'in, Tabi'in. Now proof from the companions of the Prophet, be upon him. Imam Al-Layka mentioned in his Sharh Al-Usul Al-I'tiqad Al-Sunnah, a book that were many Sahih narrations from Imam Jafar al-Sadiq against the Rafidah, blah, 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 that Ibn Abbas, radiallahu anhu, when he explained the verse, Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, said, Yawma tabiyaddat wujuhun wa taswadat wujuh. On the day, some faces will turn white and some will turn black on the day of judgment. This is Qur'an, Surah 3, verse 106. As for those whom their faces will be brightened, they are Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and the people of knowledge. As for those whom their faces will be darkened, they are the people of invention, bid'ah, and misguidance. So this is, according to him, what Ibn Abbas said. So it's probably, or if this is true, it's Ibn Abbas, and Ibn Abbas is not just any who. I think.
No, agreed. But this again is an opinion. Isn't
I like how, according to that hadith, me and Sam
no, it's not of this. He has an isnad from Ibn Abbas.
Yeah, and then we go into isnad science. But anyway, my point is there wasn't such a thing as it wasn't defined what is Sunnism. Now, early on, you had, like I said, the people who would follow the companions, and there were schools of thoughts, and there was no clear definition of what it was. Then you had a split. You had those people who went out called the Khawarij, and that there were an early group. So you had the large Jama'ah of the body, the large body of Muslims.
But they started according to the hadith when the Prophet was alive.
Yes, absolutely. No, but if you can find their roots in the Quran, it talks about the Arab. the people who wander the deserts. It talks about the Bedouins. Many of the Khawarij.
قالت الأعراب آمنا.
Exactly, and it talks quite disparaging of them. It talks about their lack of intellect. It talks about how they view things, because there were many people who weren't happy about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam coming into Arabia, because they weren't used to rules. They didn't want rules. They suddenly, you've got authority, and it's expanding that authority, and their sort of lifestyle, they accused the Prophet, peace be upon him, of being unfair because they wanted more booty, etc. We'll do another show on that. But anyway, I don't want to digress too much. So my point is that there was no clear-cut thing of what is Sunnah. So for example, you had the split amongst the Shia. So you had the Shia of Ali and the Shia of Muawiyah. Shia means group. So most people now, Sunnis, would support Ali. I support Ali. Most Al Sunnah wal Jama'ah say Ali was right in that dispute with Muawiyah. That's absolutely, and Abu Hanifa, he believed in that. Imam Ahmed, Imam Shafi, Imam Malik, they all agree that Imam Ali was right. But we practice something called Hutn al-Dhan, which means we give the benefit of a doubt to someone. And because Muawiyah was a companion of the Prophet ﷺ, although there's many people, I don't overpraise him, but I don't slander him at the same time. We'll find out on the Judgment Day. So that's our position. Now, as the schools developed, Hellenistic, so moving the conversation forward a bit, Hellenism came in. So you had Greek thought, Greek philosophy coming in. Suddenly people are questioning, what does this mean? You had the question of, is the Qur'an created? Is the Qur'an not created? These are questions that the scholars had to deal with. So then they needed to codify it. Now, in one way, that's a bid'ah, what we call an innovation. At the same time, it was absolutely needed, because Muslims need to know what they need.
There's a funny ether when they talk about this, when they conquered these parts of Byzantine, and that the Byzantines themselves have, should we allow them to steal the books? And they say, yes, allow them to steal the book, because these kalam arguments have never went into a religion without it has been facet,
destroying it. And this is the key thing, Abu. This is the key thing. And then you had certain people. George Makdis, he talks about this in his book on the rise of humanism in Islam. He says that then you had people who are very scriptural. They said, look, we can't allow extra things coming into the religion. So that is the school of mainly Imam Ahmed bin Hanbal. They believed in naqal. Then you had other people. I mean,
but do you deny the hadith that talks that bid'ah is haram? That bid'ah is the dangerous.
This is the thing. This is where me and you disagree.
So you think bid'ah is okay?
So you've asked me a question. Let me just finish. So what you believe, you've been taught obviously from the Salafi. You come from that sort of background, don't you? Where you come from Saudi Arabia, where all bid'ah is wrong. We of Al,
as I said, Imam Malik made a difference between like the bid'ah that is okay and the bid'ah. The thing that is haram is when you make a bid'ah in the religion, in the ibadah. So if, for example, say that hitting myself in the head with a stick, that is a kind of ibadah. That is a kind of bid'ah. And the word bid'ah is in aqidah. But anyway, yeah.
So this is the key difference between what I call Sunnism and what I say is Wahhabism. The key thing, one of the key things that Wahhabis say is that here's what we believe as Sunnis. We believe everything is permissible unless proven otherwise.
Okay, can I ask you that, because this is what what Imam Malik said. Do you think Imam Malik was Wahhabi?
No. So we believe everything is permissible.
But he said otherwise. The same thing.
And that's what we believe. That's what I'm saying. But the Wahhabis don't believe that. The Wahhabis believe unless the Prophet, if it's not in the Prophet ﷺ's time and it's not in the Salaf's time, those 3 generations, then it's bid'ah. So they'll say questions to you like, did the Prophet, peace be upon him, do it? Did you see any of the Salaf do it? Where's your proof?
Yeah, but then it is bid'ah. Look,
it's the wrong test.
Imam Malik, he lived he was born 93 years after the Hijrah. If he is saying that, he is within that time. So if he's saying that, if he's making all this bid'ah is haram, this is clearly, this is haram bid'ah, this is okay bid'ah. And it's very clear, if you make bid'ah in ibadat and aqidah and things like that, that is the worst of worst. And he wouldn't even talk to people from bid'ah. And one of the guys that he didn't talk to was people from Ahlul Kalam. So if you accept Imam Malik and what he's saying, shouldn't you?
Abu, this is the thing. Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmed, Imam Abu Molhid, they're very, very misrepresented.
But this is in his Muwatta. Are you not accepting his Muwatta for being?
This is the thing. The Salafis will quote you things.
No,
without.
But this is in Muwatta.
No. Okay. Let me concede this point. I don't know what's in the Muwatta. I'll have to research that. I don't know. You could be absolutely right. I could be wrong on this point. But what I'm saying is the general principle is that not all bid'ah, and I want the viewers to listen, not all bid'ah, not all innovation is wrong. There's something called bid'ah hasana. Good bid'ah. For example, the domes. Now, early on, the Prophet ﷺ he had a very flat mosque. There was no big domes built on. That's come from the Byzantines. Also, the structures, that's come from the Byzantines, like you see now.
Okay, so let me say what the Salafi view on this is, because you say dome. Yeah. Salafi doesn't necessarily say that it is bid'ah. It's bid'ah if you think that it is better than the Prophet Muhammad's kind of simplistic mosque. If you think it is a way of making ibadah, making worship, then it is bid'ah.
And I think there's a big difference between Salafis. From my understanding, and I've asked Salafis this, they would actually see, so most of you have seen Medina, you see the green dome of the Prophet. There's actually a movement to destroy that green dome, because they think that that's a bid'ah and it's an innovation and it shouldn't have entered. They destroyed.
As I said, if you think it is a kind of ibadah, yes.
But Bin Baz, for example, believed that green dome should be destroyed. So he didn't qualify like you just have. He just thinks.
But isn't that also to do with that there is pointing out where the Prophet's grave is and so on? I have to look at that fatwa.
That's a separate issue. But what I'm saying is, what we know from the Wahhabis, when they went into Medina, they basically, many of the companions, many of the Ahl Bayt, they had very nice structures around their graves. They went and flattened all of it out. They follow a very Bedouin Islam, a very kind of, you have to follow their sort of way.
No. Look, what was the law 3 days before the Prophet ﷺ died? What did he say? He said, La'natullah al-Yahud wal-Nasara ittakhadhu qubura anbiya'ahum. Anyway, God's la'na is upon the Yahud, the Jews and the Christians. They made their prophets' graves into worship places. So that is, and I think 3 days before he dies.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing with Arabic, and this is the difference between classic Arabic and probably the Arabic you taught. For example,
no. I studied classic Arabic.
No. Okay, so listen to what I'm about to say. When it says in the Quran, the Jews say, or the Christians say, and this is a key point. I want all the listeners to understand this. When it says, it's talking generally. It's not talking about just one person. This is the thing about the Quran. Is it figurative? Is it literal? You cannot take it literally.
This is not Quran. This is a hadith. This is a prophet saying, repeating over and over again. Exactly. He is afraid that they will turn his grave into a place of ibadah.
So when you've got a second thing, so then you've got the hadith. Again, you have to understand the hyperbole of the Prophet ﷺ. Who is he talking to? He's talked sometimes about shaitan. Satan will come and enter your nose. This is the hyperbole of the Prophet ﷺ. Unfortunately, many of our Salafi Wahhabi brothers don't understand this, and they take things way too literally. There's many figurative things, but what I am conscious of is that me and you are having this discussion and other people aren't being involved in. So should we open up?
I just want to say one hadith before I let
please
somebody else. I think Raven is want to say something, for example.
Look on my face.
Okay, this is from Tirmidhi. The Prophet Muhammad said, "My ummah will split into 73 sects, all of whom will be in hellfire, except one group. They said, meaning the Sahaba asked him, who are they, O Messenger of Allah? He said, those who follow that I and my companions follow.
Yeah.
So isn't that
Many
quite clear that
No,
you
it's
should
not,
follow
because
the
that's
Prophet and the Sahaba followed?
many people have said that's a fabricated hadith, but even if it was, that we no, I mean, you can sigh as much as you want. The Hanafis, Shafis, Malikis, Hanbali, we all believe we're following the Salaf anyway. So here's the thing: we do.
Yeah, you're believing, but how do we? If like you have to have some kind of method. You know, I come from a Popperian. I'm very inspired by Karl Popper. So you have to have some way of saying, okay, this is how you can say that this is what the Salaf did.
Yeah.
And part of being from Ahl Sunnah is that you say, well, it's the knowledge of Hadith that determines what the Prophet and the Sahaba did.
But here's the thing: this is key for the viewers, and I'm gonna conclude this quite quickly. But what the Ahl Sunnah, what we have amongst every single school, like the Shafis, the Hanbalis, the Malikis, and the Hanafis, we have isnad. So we have a chain of transmission. So basically, what that means is, I have sat down with a scholar. I've learned for 6 or 7 years. This person has given me license. That scholar has learned for someone who he sat down with 5 or 6 years. That's gone back. So we have a chain that goes back all the way back to the Prophet ﷺ through this scholarship. This is called the scholastic tradition. What the Wahhabis did, they came 200 years ago. They don't have those chains.
No, don't go. Now you're. This is not okay. Let's see. No, this is not okay. Now this is just straw manning.
Refute me, please. Refute me.
Okay, so the knowledge of isnad, everything is recorded. All the things about the different rijal, ilm or rijal, it's already recorded. Everyone can go and look at it if you know Arabic.
Where is it recorded?
It's recorded by the ulama that lived in this period. You say this guy is
where?
Fiqh,
I'm asking you where. Where is it recorded? Where?
In the books of the scholars.
Which books?
And for example, Imam al-Bukhari talks about this. He talks. Ilm al-Rijal is a big topic. The whole topic of itself. Okay.
Of course. But then you have that's debated. You have schools, many of the
I know it is debated. But the point with Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is that there is a kind of general consensus that this body of hadith is trustworthy. So, for example, is it a coincidence that pretty much all Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah think that the most trustworthy source after the Qur'an is Sahih al-Bukhari, for example?
That's a recent thing after the Middle Ages, and this is what I was saying last week.
A recent thing?
It is, and it's happened probably around the Middle Ages, the time of Saladin after the Nizamiyya, when the Shafis and the Hanbalis became very close. They have their own principles. Now, there was the Sahih Sitta, which are the 6 chronological books: Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawood, Tirmidhi, Nisa'i, and I think I forgot the last one. But those are the
Al-Muwatta and Imam Ahmed's
no, those two.
So you don't consider Imam Ahmed's book from?
It's not Sahih Sitta. That's what I'm saying. I'm talking factually. Sahih Sitta. Imam Ahmed isn't part of the Sahih Sitta. Now that was what I'm saying is that is what they believe. The Shafis, Ibn Salah, and many of the believe that was the rules that were set. Other people's schools, like the Hanafi school, the Malikis, they said that those are not the most authentic books. And there's the key point. I believe the most authentic book after the Quran is the Muwatta of Imam Malik, which are the most purest hadiths. The popular view is, I can see the popular view since probably for the last 400 or 500 years is Bukhari, but there are hadiths that are completely fabricated hadith in Bukhari. I'll give you an example.
But then you're going against the Jama'ah, the main body of Jama'ah.
I'm not. The Hanafis, we've always believed that Bukhari is not the most authentic book, and the Malikis likewise.
What Hanafis? Is it really all the Hanafis that think that?
All the Hanafis. No, all the Hanafis, but many Hanafis, and like I said,
I think you're deceiving people when you're saying that Hanafis think one things. You're saying a particular group within the major school of
You're
Hanafi.
right. You're absolutely right, Abi. I should be clear in what I'm saying. Not all Hanafis, but there are many Hanafis, many Malikis that do not believe that Bukhari is the most authentic book. I mean, in that book, there's things that says Adam is 16 cubic feet. I mean, it's Sahih. There's things that say that, God, I don't even want to repeat it, but it says that, Moses had a testicular problem and a stone ran away with his clothes. I mean, it's complete nonsense.
But how do you know that? Do you know?
Because there's other scholars have done checks on Bukhari, and they've said, and this goes back to principles. See,
but it is what I mean, that you have to have some kind of standard that you can test these things. And the standards that the ulama of Rijal and the ulama of Isnad, what they made, that they said, okay, these asani, they can be very trusted because we've gone through all the Rijal in it, and we see that all the Rijal in this Isnad is trustworthy. And then come and say,
no, I'm asking you who. This is what I'm saying. The people, the scholars that you're talking about are Shafi, Hanbali, and Wahhabi scholars, for example.
So now you're making Shafi scholars into Wahhabis.
No,
as well.
What I'm saying is Shafis and Hanbalis agree that Bukhari is the most authentic book. Hanafis and Malikis disagree. That's what I'm saying. And the reason
I am at many Hanafis and Malikis
later Hanafis, yeah. But I'm saying the reason is because the principles are different. How we take a hadith, how we believe a hadith. Now, even we don't take. Here's the thing about Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Lay people are supposed to read hadith, supposed to read the Quran for devotional purposes. They are not supposed to learn the hadith, take the hadith literally. Hadith, like I said at the start of the show, is pieces of data. They are very, very complicated. How did the Prophet ﷺ, what was the context that was said, etc., etc. Now, if you have something, you misquote it, and then you do it, general specific, oh, look, and this is what Wahhabis do. Look, brothers, it says this in the hadith, you have to act. And it's a way to beat down and it restricts intellectual thought.
Okay, that is your opinion, but
it's not because...
I feel that you're kind of strawmanning that.
How you come to the conclusion which hadith is real, if you have to choose yourself.
So sorry, what was your question? I beg your pardon, I didn't hear you.
How you come to the conclusion which hadith is real and which not?
I don't come to a conclusion. I put my trust in a scholar. Ultimately, it comes down to trust. You pick a madhab, and you put that trust in the madhab. And then you can investigate things for yourself and ask your own personal scholars questions.
This is so stupid. Why would, if God has sent down the Qur'an and He sent His Prophet,
when does someone else get
why should you just on your whim pick a scholar and think that he is correct? Shouldn't you have some kind of some standard for inquiry and think that this is what the Prophet Muhammad says? As I said, on the judgment day, Allah says, مَاذَا أَجَبْتُمُ الْمُرْسَلِينَ? What did you answer the messengers? He doesn't say, ماذا أجبتم أبو حنيفة? What did you answer to Abu Hanifa? Or ماذا أجبت to الشافعي?
You missed what I said earlier, Abu. It says in the Quran, if you do not know, ask those who know. Now, if you no, and the Prophet
أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون. And who are أهل الذكر?
And the Prophet also said, the thing I fear most for my ummah, the thing I fear most is a scholar who misleads himself and misleads others.
Okay, how do you know that hadith is sahih?
This is a Hasan hadith in the Musnad of Imam Ahmed. So,
so this, you're the best, Saracen.
No, I don't. I mean, you can laugh as much as you like,
yeah.
but what I'm saying is, if you want to approach the Quran and the hadith in a very arrogant way and say, look, it says that in Bukhari. Look, there it says, oh, do you know what? I'm just going to take that hadith literally. This is where you get terrorism from.
Sunnah wal Jama'ah has concluded that these are the main takes that we take as sahih, and then you come and say that
no. Sunnah wal Jama'ah.
That. Can I ask you?
So let me clarify what I'm saying. This is the reason why we have terrorism in the world. Because
I don't care. That is not.
It's related. It's related.
I agree. I said to you in the chat before. I prefer your version of Islam. It's much better. It's much more compatible.
It's the original version.
No, it's not. That is the problem. It's just that it's false.
Saracen.
Okay, let others speak now.
Yeah, good.
Hi, Saracen. This is P here. Thanks for the discussion. I just wanted to, I know you have alluded to this point earlier, but just wanted to know, you were saying that your version of Islam is the one true one.
Mm.
And I haven't seen any justification for that. You just provided that, oh, you have done your own research and this is what sounds okay for you.
No.
But what is your basis? Where are you coming from that this is the one true version, and you're basically going against the common consensus, as Abu was pointing out? Could you just explain why the version, the one true one?
So traditionally, I follow normative. What I say is normative Islam. Every single layperson, up until maybe the 1800s, even the great scholars like Imam Asqalani, who he did a breakdown of Sahih Bukhari. He looked at everything. He followed the Shafi madhab. Imam Nawawi, Shafi. If you look at some of the great Mullah Ali Qari, he was a Hanafi. They would refer back to a school of law because it's sound. It's not, and here's the thing, it's not following one person, it's following person upon person upon person who breaks down the law, and each generation is developed. So in the Hanafi thing, you have consensus, but then it doesn't say that that's it. You bring more evidence. If you bring, and if the time changes, you can update that. Unfortunately, the Wahhabis, they say no, you don't have to. You can just approach the Qur'an yourself. You can follow things yourself. You can read the Hadith yourself, and you can follow that. We don't accept that. We say, look, it's not great. This is what we call taqleed. Taqleed is following a school of thought, and it's not a great position to be in. I mean,
Taqleed is following an imam.
Yes, and it's a school of thought.
You're following the Prophet Muhammad.
No, taqleed, we are following the Prophet Muhammad through people who have interpreted it better than we can. Look, and
you are going against the main. You are getting against the Jama'ah.
And let me explain it, because
I've
been asked the question. Here's the thing. Yes, let me just conclude. Okay. Here's the thing. Now, the Quran is an incredibly complicated book. You have to know pre-Islamic poetry to understand the words. You have to know grammar. You have to know rhetoric. You have to know the context of each hadith. When did it come? When was it revealed? Now, for a layperson like myself, it is incredibly difficult to do that. I can be as arrogant as I can be.
Tabari and dudes like that, they already done that work for us.
No, Tabari is disputed. Ibn Ashaq is disputed. All of our early hadith. If you read The Shadow of the Sword by Tom Holland, he makes a very interesting point, and he says in this book that traditionally Islam is seen as come in the full light of history. And he says, when I've done my research, it's not as clear as it is. I agree with him to this point, Abu.
I also agree with him, but we have to stand inside the narrative.
The seerah is not clear. This is the thing.
But according to him, Mecca didn't even exist when the Prophet Muhammad lived. He don't even think that the Prophet is from Hijaz. So
I think that's a weak argument. I think modern.
I think we're gonna confuse people if we go into that.
But the point is, I've been asked, why do I follow a school of thought? I follow a school of thought because and I said, like I said, if I become a scholar, it doesn't mean I have to always follow a school. If I go on a certain journey, I become a scholar, I can learn so much, and it is possible. I can make my whole school of thought eventually. It's very, very rare. I mean, the groundwork.
We take a pause now. I want everybody to speak. So first, Naeem.
I'm gonna mute myself.
Naeem.
Fine, I can talk again.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I'm displaying right now what I want to ask. I mean, last time, Saracen, you also said you build your faith upon your rational thinking, etc. And it does not come clear how you come to the conclusion. I asked you, and you said it is about trust. And is it now about trust, or is it about rationality? How you choose your religion and how you act in your religion? Is it trust or is it rationality?
Okay, so I don't want to make this show about atheism because I know I'm completely overnumbered.
I'm not talking about it.
No, but it's gonna follow.
About your faith.
My answer follows. Yes, absolutely, and I'll answer it. So I believe there's God. I believe that's a rational proposition. I believe in the Kalam, cosmological argument. I believe in the argument of design. I believe in the argument of moral objectivity. I believe in the fitra argument. I believe in the argument of through consciousness. Now, those 5 arguments together, they give me, I would say, I believe more likely than not God exists. So that's the first thing. Then what I've done is I've investigated different religions. Now, I was born a Muslim, and like I've said in my previous show, I was quite extreme in my young age.
No. Stop. Stopping you right there. Unless you came out your mother's womb, saying, I declare there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger, you were not born a Muslim.
Okay, I believe every child is born in fitra. I believe I was born Muslim, but I accept.
That's fine. Yeah, fitra just means I believe in divinity. I believe that there is a God. That's fine. But don't say I came out of the womb.
No.
I came out of the womb. Specific religion.
Order.
This specific version of this particular God. Just don't say you came out of the womb a Muslim.
He can say if he wants to. He can say. Let him do that. He's talking for himself.
I give you time, Raven, soon. Let's just Naeem finish his.
So with then I investigated.
Naeem, not Saracen. Naeem.
No, I hadn't finished my point. What I'm saying is then I investigated different religions, and Islam obviously made the most. That I believe it's a rational problem. I believe in the problem.
Okay, but it doesn't convince me that you are rational. But beside that, the next little question would be science of Isnad. So never people had the ability to invent names. Are you saying that this is a good criteria to look upon the Isnad? Are you saying that?
Sorry, you're gonna have to be a bit more clear. I don't understand.
Well, you put your trust mostly, not mostly, but on a big part on the Isnad. Is that right?
What?
Yes or no?
No, it's not a yes or no answer. Let me put it this way. You go to a doctor. Are you going to go to someone who, let's say I say I've read a few textbooks on medicine and and you need an operation. Are you going to let me operate? Are you going to let me operate?
Sorry,
no.
Saracen, I have to interrupt you there. It is not about the health issue at all. It is about the issue of the trust in the Isnad, and the Isnad just
Saracen, try to explain simple so we try to understand.
I don't understand how he wants to avoid the question. I want to know.
That's the feeling I get too.
I'm really not avoiding the
question.
But
if you're not avoiding it, try to answer it simple.
Let me ask again a little bit more clear so that you please don't avoid it. Is it in any way the Isnad somehow more real if it's there with many names? I mean anybody can invent names, mostly 200, 300 years after supposedly a person died. I mean, that's not a real criteria to take this serious.
So you are.
It is a trustworthy thing. A chain of names.
And this is exactly the point. We're talking about, but just to remind the viewers, Isnad is the science of knowing the narrators. Are they trustworthy? Are they untrustworthy? How do we know hadiths are correct? So I have a problem with a lot of the Isnads. This is the thing. And I think the Hanafi school has a problem with a lot of the Isnad. We are obliged to think critically. That's why there are many things that the Hanafi school differs radically with some of the other schools. So yes, there is massive problems with Isnad. That's why I don't take every hadith literally.
You have said that I don't know how many times, but what we're asking, what are your exact criteria to make it thabit, to make it clear what hadith is sahih and what hadith is not sahih?
I first of all, I take my first primary I learned from the Qur'an. So if it's found in the Quran, that's my main thing.
Asked. Don't try to sidestep this. I'm asked about hadith.
Yes,
what
so if you let me
exactly
finish,
is your criteria?
if you allow me to finish, so the second point is then we go into hadith. The first is mutawatir. Is it mutawatir? That is mass transmitted, collaborated. Second is it mashhur? I take the mutawatir Qur'an and the hadith mainly, and I look at the opinions of the Hanafi schools. The ahad hadith, the single translation.
Stop. So you say Quran first, then mutawatir hadith, then
Yes.
Hanafi school.
No, I'm saying the Hanafi schools defines what's mutawatir. They define what is ahad. They define what is mashhur. So the Hanafi school defines that.
So if other guys say that it's mutawatir, you don't agree. You only agree with the Hanafi.
I follow I followed the school of Imam Abu Hanifa.
Yeah,
and
we know that you said that. I
and
don't
that
know how
defines
you
it. So yes, absolutely.
But then I want to ask you, how do you know that you should follow the school of Abu Hanifa?
You put your
He's
trust
never
in
mentioned. Yeah, but why? He's never mentioned in the Quran. In the Quran, God says, "Mada ajabtumul mursalin." What did you ask?
And it goes back to what we've said earlier, and you said it in Arabic. If you do not know, ask the people who know. Now, Imam Abu Hanifa and his
why
were
don't you
experts.
ask Abu Hanifa? Why don't you ask Imam Malik?
Because they have different principles. Here's the thing. Now, and there's nothing, and that's a good question actually. There's nothing wrong with certain aspects of a little bit of the Shafi, a little bit of the Malik, if they don't contradict. But in some things of they have different principles. Here's the thing. They have different principles how they derive from the Quran and the Sunnah. Now, some of these principles, I'll give you an example very quickly. The Hanafi school are quite strict when it comes to ahad hadith in terms of things for practice, in terms of your ibadat. So there are many hadiths from Abu Huraira. So for example, in Bukhari, Imam Abu Hanifa wasn't very comfortable taking those sole hadiths from Imam Abu Huraira. He said, is it collaborated? Could there be a possibility of mistake? Could it be that he's misheard the Prophet ﷺ? Could it be that someone else has misheard him?
Yeah, but he at least heard. He lived like the Sahaba are at least somewhat mentioned in the Quran. So, if you,
but I don't get your point.
Do you agree that the Sahaba have more knowledge in general than Abu Hanifa?
I would say no. This is the thing.
So you're saying the Sahaba don't know more than Abu Hanifa? Those who actually saw and heard the Prophet.
If Abu Hanifa got it from Anas bin Malik, who's also a Sahabi, and he got it directly, then obviously he's got it straight from him. He's also got Hazrat Ali.
Okay, if I ask you this instead, do you think that Umar ibn al-Khattab knows more about Islam than Abu Hanifa?
Of course.
Okay, so Umar ibn al-Khattab, that is quite easy. Okay, Abdullah ibn Abbas.
So the question then follows is, how do we know Umar bin Khattab or Abdullah bin Abbas said it? That's the question. So for example, in Bukhari, there's a narrator called Ikrimah, and I want everyone to look this up. Ikrimah was the servant of Ibn Abbas. Now, he's the one that says that you can burn gay people. He's the one that talks about the punishment or stone, anyone that leaves the religion, kill him.
Wait a minute. Now I think you're making this is very unfair.
No.
Look, I just happened to.
I don't accept
some days ago, I was scumming some. How do you say that? Like skimmed through. I don't know if you say that in English, but some Hanafi fiqh, and all those had hudud. All the general hudud are in Hanafi fiqh as well.
No, there's a later Hanafi fiqh and the early Hanafi fiqh.
Do you accept?
No. For homosexuality, I don't accept that people should be killed. I believe that the punishment is a tazir, which is a discretionary punishment. And the early Hanafi fiqh, that came from Ikrimah. I do not accept Ikrimah as a narrator. He was part of the Khawarij.
Forget about him. Now we're talking about the earliest.
You must allow me to finish this point because it's very important. Okay. This is something that the Khawarij believe. The Khawarij are very extremist sect. Ikrimah was part of the extremist sect, and there's many hadiths from the Khawarij that are in Bukhari. This is the thing. Now, then we've got people who take this like ISIS literally, and they.
Don't go off on a tangent. No, we want to be clear here. What Hanafi books exactly do you think is real Hanafi fiqh?
I think Kushairi is a genuine Hanafi book, but
Okay, when did he live?
he lived probably I can't tell you exactly.
What
But
do you think
I've got
about
his book.
what do you think
Kitab
about Fiqh
al-Ikhtar.
al-Akbar? What do you think
Guys,
about
you've
the
been
book?
going on for quite long. Can I ask?
Okay.
Let
Fee,
others
let's stop.
ask the question as well.
Yes. Fee, let's stop.
Can you, Abu? Can you please stop so others can ask questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we let everybody should speak now. We think this.
TJ and Raven, obviously, yeah. It's your
Yeah. We start with you, Fee, then Raven, then
no,
TJ.
TJ, go on.
Okay, TJ, you first. Hello, TJ.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, let me just turn up my volume. So there we go. All right, so I guess my first question would be,
Fine.
my first question would be, in your view, Saracen, what is the purpose or what is the symbolism that's behind paying the jizya?
Okay, so you've asked me about jizya. Now, jizya is something that the Muslims didn't invent, contrary to popular opinion. Jizya was around before the Muslims. If you read Robert Hoyland's book on the, I believe it's the Arab conquests, and also Tom Holland mentions it in The Shadow of the Sword. These were institutions that basically, if you were dhimmi, they called it something else in the Byzantine Empire, that you had to pay a tribute. And the Muslims pretty much built on that kind of institution. So the dhimma, so they would have to, you'd have to pay a tribute, and from that you were exempt from certain things. You were allowed to follow your religion, but you were also subject to certain rules. So yeah.
So for you though, do you see it as a sign of humiliation or a sign of disgrace?
I think that's if I'm can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I think at that time we have to look at the world at that time. There's something called Dar al-Islam and Dar al-Harb, the land of Islam, the land of war, and then there was land of the treaty. And there's many. The world's changed now. We're living in a global world where, are these things really principle? I'm not for dhimmatud at all. So for some people, they did view it. They absolutely, some Muslims absolutely viewed it as, we're superior to you, and there you go, that's dhimmatud. I would question whether that was the purpose of dhimmatud or whether that was the purpose of what the Prophet ﷺ intended. He said that anyone that oppresses a dhimmi, that is a Jew, Christian, Zoroastrian, and when the Muslims went into India, they expanded that to Hindus, and they said anyone that oppresses the dhimmi, I will be the advocate of that dhimmi on the Day of Judgment. So there's Muslim dynasties that have abused that institution horrendously in the history of Islam.
But look, that is, jizya is in the Quran, so it's kind of hard to deny.
Yes, no,
I don't. So if the Quran is for the rest of the world until the Day of Judgment, aren't you disobeying Allah's command there?
No, I don't think you are.
Now is, I think, Fee on his turn.
Okay, now we should let everybody talk. I don't want to go into that. Whose turn is it now? Is it Fee or Raven?
Raven, go ahead.
Go first.
Raven.
Fee, do you want to go?
No, you can.
Raven first.
Hello, Fee? You hear me? Do you want to?
No, Raven,
go?
it's your turn.
Raven, your turn. You carry on.
I was going to let Fee. Well, no, I'll let you go. I'm just rolling a cigarette. So you can go.
Saracen, I just wanted to know. So, I obviously don't. I don't have much information about this. These schools you guys are mentioning, but at least I can go and pick up the book of Bukhari and read the Hadith. Where can I go and see and read about the kind of teachings you are sort of following? Is there a book? Is there something written so people can look up that your version makes more sense for some people?
To answer your question completely honest, is not much at the moment, and the reason for that is because people have taken this very literal approach. Now, if you look at who's controlling our media, if you look, so for example, in India, you have this stupid Peace TV by Zakir Naik. He's a Wahhabi. They follow this Wahhabi literalist thought. Bukhari, they print Darul Islam, the internet, the media, the main websites, they're all Wahhabi run. The Hanafi school isn't as strong as it used to be. So you'll have to go to scholars, but some of the scholars are bloody extremists themselves. The way I learn is I've got my own personal scholars. So I've got Sheikh Atabek Shukruf, who is that he asks, if you go to British Muslim TV, you can ask him questions directly. It's something called Ask the Imam. It's quite popular. It's on channel 845 on Sky. He does a weekly show Monday to Fridays. You can ask him directly. That's how I learn. I also learn by Facebook chat. There's another Maliki scholar called Abu Molhid, who's a young kind of guy. He's quite hip. You can ask him. I have access to things. In terms of book, there's very few books because some of the older books, they're outdated. So it talks, some of the books, they talk about slavery, for example. It's done, it's finished. We don't want to bring slavery back, things like that. So I'm
quite confused. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm quite confused. These scholars, where are they actually? Are they then interpreting themselves as you are doing? And you kind of accusing Wahhabism to these Wahhabis to do the same as you guys are doing as well. I'm confused.
Okay, sure. so answer your question. What Sheikh Atabek, for example, does is he will go and he will tell you the early Hanafi opinions because he studied them for a number of years.
Where has he studied it from?
He studied in Uzbekistan. He studied in Syria.
No. Where has he studied it from? As in, are these passed as oral traditions even now, or is
he's done oral traditions and books? So he's done both. He's done with reputable people. So he's studied. He's got what we call an ijazah, a traditional ijazah. So
I mean, I would rather put these hadiths, which are even written 200 years after the prophet's death, to be a bit more sort of I would call authentic than these guys who are actually studying it from from oral tradition. I mean, this totally refutes the whole thing.
It's not just oral tradition, my friend. This is what I'm saying to you. They had oral tradition, but by the time that the hadiths were also written down. But the key thing is, you can quote a hadith and you can write a hadith down. It doesn't mean that you understand the hadith. That's where the oral tradition comes into its own, because it doesn't let any Tom and Dick and Harry go and speak about Islam and go and preach about Islam, because that's where you get bloody extremists from. The Quran itself says it's a source of misguidance for some. So what these teachers do, they have the books, they have it written down, then they have the oral tradition, and they've got it from an oral tradition all the way back to the Prophet, and they make sure that they filter out the right people with the right understanding who can do it.
As I said, it's even worse than I actually thought, because now hadiths are actually explaining the Quran, and now these guys are actually explaining the hadith.
How do you know the hadiths are explaining the Quran?
Well, that's what hadiths say, that there's if you have because you said yourself that Quran is so complex, you need to have the backstory, and I take it the hadiths give the backstory and everything, and now these guys are actually explaining the hadiths and interpreting it. That's even worse than actually knowing.
Well, they're explaining it from they've heard it from the way they've heard it from because they've got the right context for it. They know about all the debates about every single word. They know about the debates about the context. Now, if you pick up the hadith, for example, let me give you an example, Bukhari. Now, what the Wahhabis have done, they've literally taken out hadiths that don't suit them. They've abridged hadiths that don't suit them. So how the hell can you say you're following Sunnah when you don't even know the hadith is fully written down? The second thing with Bukhari is in terms of what he did, he had 5 or 6 students that he translated it to. Only one of those translations are Bukhari that we have today. The other 5 haven't been translated. So we don't even know if we're following Bukhari properly. So, I mean, you could take your pick. I'd rather go with the ones that I know that have got a chain of transmission all the way back. And there's not just one, there's many different transmissions. I'm more comfortable with that. And I think that's the way we've regulated it. And that's for 200-300 years. We never had this extremist problem. Wahhabis come along and then suddenly everything's blowing up. And people are killing themselves because some idiot is reading a Quran or reading a verse of the Quran, and Islamophobes do the same. And they quote the Quran.
I want everybody to speak. But when you say that for 200-300 years we didn't have this problem, what did the Prophet Muhammad and the Sahaba? They waged jihad and and occupied
What's jihad?
countries.
What's jihad? This
They
is the
make
thing.
forceful. فإذا لقيتم الذين كفروا فضرب الرقاب حتى إذا أثخنتموهم فشدوا الوثاق. I mean, what are you saying? It's clear in the Quran. They may Allah's order. يا إن الله كبر مقتا عند الله أن تقول ما تفعلون.
You could say in English if you can, because everyone can
I
understand.
haven't memorized it in English, but like take like
This is
Surah
the problem.
Al-Saff and all these things.
Is it supposed to be taken literally?
But how can you interpret? How can you interpret?
This is the thing. There's so many things that.
How can you interpret things like فضرب الرقاب? How can you interpret that in metaphorical way?
Explain to me what it is in English so we will understand.
So hit the riqab, so hit the necks. So how can you?
So
is that metaphorical? You should metaphorically hit their necks.
Let's look at when that was
That's
revealed.
not how the Prophet and the Sahaba.
That's in Surah Tawbah, right? That's in Surah Tawbah.
No, that's Surah Muhammad.
Okay, so when we look at the context of the hadith, that was during a time.
That's not
war.
hadith. That's Quran.
Can I stop you guys there?
Okay.
Can others ask the question?
No, sorry. Feel free, but he just quoted
Soon it's
something
your
now because people are listening. I have to quote. There's times that is a time of war. Now, if I say this is exactly the problem. If I'm giving a military speech and I'm saying kill your enemies, be brave on the battlefield, and then someone comes along 200-300. Oh, look, Muhammad said smite their necks. Muhammad said kill them. Look, it says it right there. It says it in the Quran. You have to understand, when was that? When was the battle taking place? What was happening in the period? Was it a universal principle? For example, kill the Jews and the Christians.
Dude, it's quite clear in the Quran that it's
not
universal.
Clear. This is the thing. This is the arrogant approach. That's probably why you've left Islam. It's the arrogant approach that you've taken. That you haven't understood it, my friend.
I actually know Arabic.
Guys,
so
can you
the Quran in its original language? Okay, please.
Can you let others speak then?
Yeah, please go.
For quite some time, yeah. So I will just make a comment on your sort of answer. I found your interpretation to be of really no use because if you see, I mean, everybody can interpret it in their own way and they can say this is the context without any books which are actually you can trace it back all the way, at least even after 200 years. I think you can make it up and pick and choose whatever you want. So I think your version of Islam, even if it sounds sort of all right, is even sort of less authentic than these guys who have actually followed. That's just my personal statement.
And you're perfectly entitled to that. But what I would say is, have you come with that mode already, or have you come to genuinely ask questions and learn, or have you come with preconceived ideas? And I wouldn't blame you if you had preconceived ideas, because there's many people out there, there's many literature out there. I bought the book last week of Bill Warner, complete bullshit. I mean, I've found about 10 problems in it in the first chapter. But anyway, this is the thing. We've got so many people that are putting stuff out there. And I don't blame non-Muslims for hating Islam. I completely get it. There's so much stuff out there. You don't hear voices like mine because, then suddenly I become inauthentic. What I would say to you, is if you genuinely want it, buy the study Quran. If there's one Quran I recommend, I say buy the study Quran, because it's got the different opinions of the different madhabs, of different tafsirs, of different legal scholars for each verse, and it contextualizes it.
Why do you need opinions on the Quran if it says it from itself? It is clear. I don't understand this point.
I agree. And just to comment on my
Friday, what surah do you read on Fridays? Alhamdulillahi alladhi anzala ala abdihi alkitaba wa lam yaj'al lahu iwaja.
I don't. Yeah,
I'm never going to get to asking questions.
Yeah, right? Go for it, Raven. Go for it.
Now it's Raven's turn.
I'm never going to get to ask any questions.
It's been intense today.
I mean, sorry, Sarasin, but I can't take you serious because these excuses I've heard.
You want to look? You can call it
so many times. Your interpretation is good, and the others are stupid and not really correct. And because they are interpreting it wrong, there is a war and violence and etc. and you brought no real explanation why your opinion has any valid point at all.
Completely agree with you, Dai. And I actually came, and just to present my view, I actually was very interested in actually knowing where you actually coming from, because the kind of ideas you were saying were better than what the Wahhabis are actually presenting. And I thought it's quite interesting. Actually, nothing to
and what I would say to you,
actually just down to the scholars. Just let me complete. Down to the scholars and their interpretation, without any sort of historical pretext to it. And I find that to be more hollow than even a Wahhabi version of the Islam, which I find quite sort of abhorrent. But still, at least they have something to look back to, which is closer to the time of the Prophet than your version, which has got absolutely no backing at all. So I was very interested if there is a version out there which you are actually promoting. I'd be happy to accept, but accept in the sense like at least look into.
Okay, I will come back to that. What version is following? I want before.
Can I answer that, please? Because
no, I am gonna ask you the same question later. I want to give Raven a chance to speak. I just gonna read 2 verses from the Qur'an before I do that. For the first, the surah that you read on Fridays are Surah Al-Kahf. The first verse in Surah Al-Kahf, Alhamdulillahi alladhi anzala ala abdihi al-kitab wa lam yaj'al lahu iwaja. All praise is due to Allah, who has sent down upon his servant the book, and has not made therein any deviance. Okay, that's the first. Then I say, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu lima taquluna ma la tafalun. O you who believe, why do you say what you do not do? Kabura maqtan min Allah an taqula ma tafal. Is the great hatred in the sight of Allah that you do not do what there is? Okay, no. Inna Allah yuhibbu alladhina yuqatiluna fi sabilihi saffan ka'annahum bunyanun marsus. Indeed, Allah loves those who fight in his cause in a row as though they are in a single structure joined firmly. How do you interpret that metaphorically?
Okay, let me listen to what Raven says, and
okay, now it's Raven's turn.
Yeah,
Raven, now you have the chance to speak, or you want to smoke cigarettes?
You are muted, Raven.
I dismute him. Against okay.
My camera's going, everything's going weird. I don't know what's happening right now. Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
No.
No, we
okay,
can't.
So, Sarasan, first of all, I'm very, very happy you've come onto the show. I mean, let's face it, Islam does not have a good reputation nowadays. It's pretty much the face of terrorism, and conversations like this between believers and non-believers, it's so important. And I do realize how daunting it can be. You know, I mean, this is a show of primarily non-Muslims. You're coming in here, you're making your case, and I do understand that takes courage. And also, it's nice that another Englishman is on the show.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's nice. Yeah.
It's almost
I was looking at.
variants.
I saw that you came on the show last week, and I looked up your channel, and quite interesting. And you've said so much on this show that I want to address, but curious about. And I also saw that video where you were talking about different books that you had, and you were showing like, oh, here's like The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. Here's God Is Not Great by Christopher Hitchens. Like so many Muslims that I've spoken to, to read the arguments. It's like, I've never read this book in my entire life. I don't need to. Here's my opinion on it. And I'm just like, fuck off. So I really appreciate the time to, to actually learn the other side. I mean, respect, mate. one of the things I'm curious about, when I was watching your one of your YouTube videos, you said that you used to be a follower of Anjem Chowdhury, and I know that just now you were talking about how you moved away from that. So my first question, I'm kind of wondering how, like, what your views were when you were hanging about with, and like what your views were then and what your views are now and how they've evolved. That would be my first question.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for that. Those kind words. It's quite encouraging. I'm glad you haven't come with the kind of hostility. Yeah, exactly. And I'm here to learn just as much as everyone else is. And to be honest with you, I come from a very open mind. You know, one of the reasons I come on the show is because I like Rob. I listen to Rob's videos. I've seen Rob in Speaker's Corner, and I think he makes a lot of sense to me. He's not with us today.
He's a decent bloke, Rob. He's a decent bloke.
He's a good bloke, and I think he's a very intelligent bloke, and he makes some very, very good points. Just to answer your question about Adam,
so what were your views when you were hanging about with Andy?
So
what were your views then, and like how were they?
I had repulsive views. I grew up very. I didn't grow up very religious. I didn't really know much about Islam. So the moment I saw someone quoting me Qur'an, quoting me Hadith, they sat me down. They said, "Look, the Qur'an it says here, in the Hadith it says here, blah blah blah." They were hardcore Wahhabi, and they twisted it. I think what we do with religion sometimes, we bring our own kind of personal issues within religion. So I was already quite a young, angry, frustrated young man already. And suddenly this version made complete sense to me. You know, I was told to keep away from all the other groups, not to listen to the atheists, not to listen to the Sufis, not to listen to the Shia. You know, so it stifles your thought when you only go with groupthink and you're not willing to listen to the other person, and you know they're just kafirs, and you know, or they're bidatis. You know, I think this sort of extremism I'm really against. So when I went with them, I used to go on marches up and down the country. You know, I was a very young, naive, angry young man. And I think unfortunately, that's the situation of many young, especially Pakistani young Muslims in this country. They follow these clowns. They go for the appearance with the big beards and the niqabs, and you know, then they promise marriage and all this other rubbish, and then you kind of go into it. But the way I kind of got out of it was, you know, looking at other opinions. I mean, I think someone that had a massive impact on me was Sheikh Hamza Yusuf from America, who's a fantastic, outstanding scholar. And he just showed me a different way. It's a completely different way to Islam, you know. And I realized there's not, you know, there's certain things Muslims agree on. Absolutely. Like I mentioned at the start, there's the Qur'an, the Sunnah. But there's so many things within that, even in the Qur'an and the Sunnah, is debated. I don't see that as necessarily a negative thing, you know. And I've kind of just been going on this journey since then and trying to look at all opinions. I don't like to slay. I'm probably going to get ridiculed for this, but I find Christopher Hitchens absolutely hilarious. I like his videos. I enjoy listening to him. I mean, I disagree with him when it comes to God, but the guy is just, you know, he's a British genius, wasn't he? So, you know, I've read his book. I find it entertaining. I enjoy reading. I like to look at other people. I don't think atheism is as dumb as you hear in some Muslim circles. You know, I think there's some very strong arguments for atheism, and I appreciate that. What I like, even on this show, the Jinn&Tonic show, is people are bringing you bring it, I have to answer it. It forces me to research. It forces me to answer questions. You know, if you're going to bring something, I have to reassess what I believe. And likewise, I'll throw things back in future shows to you guys. But that's how we learn, right?
What you've just said there, you know, like if you bring something, I have to assess it. I mean, I cannot just how much I respect that. So much. And I think Christopher Hitchens, I mean, if there was one way to model myself after Christopher Hitchens, it'd be in a way that with him, but you know where he's coming from. You can disagree with him, and that's fine. But he makes it like, okay, this is what I think. This is why I think it. Know why he thinks what he does because he expresses it so well. People know what they're disagreeing with, and I love that about Hitchens. But one of the things I'm kind of curious about, it kind of relates to a number of things that you've said, especially about the Qur'an, which I'd like to go into. But when you were talking to Abu earlier, you were having some disagreements, and you think Abu and other Muslims are being a bit too literal. I'm wondering if this is the attraction that you had to Anjem Chowdhury when you were younger, because I got like Muslims like you are now, and then you've got Muslims like the Islamic State, like the Taliban, Al Qaeda, even Andy. One of the things is when you have someone like Hamza Yusuf, can make very compelling arguments. I suppose if you were like Anjem Chowdhury, you could look at Hamza Yusuf and say, okay, he's twisting it. It's bitter. It's from emotion, and I think this is where Islamists really do have the upper hand, because where people like Hamza Yusuf can say, okay, now, here's what this verse in the Quran says, and even though it says here, like for example, it says, if you are a non-Muslim like me, you're cattle. You're a beast of, you know what it means. And Hamza Yusuf can say, well, it means this, it means that. But whereas an Islamist can say, and this is where I think Islamists have the upper hand, especially if you're like, 17, 18-year-old Muslim, you got full of piss and vinegar. They can just turn around and say, this is what the Quran Hadith say. Look, it's right here in black and white. I think when you're young, it's a very powerful argument against the Hamza Yusufs of the world. And I'm just wondering if you have any comments on that.
I think you're spot on there, mate. Look, I'm 16, 17. I don't know anything about it. I go for appearances. Oh, look, he's got a big Muslim. He's got a big beard. He's praying 5 times a day. He's got his trousers above the ankle, and they're criticizing America. They're criticizing the government. The Muslims are dying, and they'll pull up these things. Look what the kuffar are saying about Muslims. Look, they hate us, blah, blah, blah. Us versus them. That's the first thing. Then, like you said, spot on, they'll quote you. Look, it says that in the Quran. It is an incredibly...
And it's black and white. It's right there.
It's black and white.
Yusuf,
there you go.
Like, goes more into meaning and whereas Islamists, no. Look there. It's right there in the Quran.
Exactly. And that's exactly the point. So you've got you've got this black and white kind of Islam. It says that you follow Abu Hanifa, you quoting me Malik. No, I'm quoting you what Allah says. It's a very simple argument, and I'm going to be very frank with you. When you're not that intellectually smart, which a lot of young Muslims, unfortunately, now, you can check the educational tables are, they're not the brightest. There's a lack of education, and I was that. You don't have those critical skills at 17, 18 years old.
It's more about being. I'm sorry. Do you think it's more about being intellectually like cold hard logic versus maybe empathy? I mean, just for Muslims.
I think there's a few things.
Country.
I think
where
there's a few
you
things.
Might not, your entire life, you might not even meet a non-Muslim versus someone in a non-Muslim country. So your family's Pakistani, right?
Right.
Okay, so just if I can follow this thought, as you're born in Tottenham in your YouTube video.
South Tottenham, Adele, where Adele was born. I was born quite close to Adele.
Tottenham. So you're a Londoner. You're a Tottenham boy.
You're a Jew.
So as an Englishman of Pakistani heritage, you're obviously born and raised in a society where the vast majority of people do not share your faith. A religion that tells you people who don't have your faith are wrong, are evil, are going to hell. And I'm just wondering if you think that makes a difference, because I remember reading an article. I think it was, I can't remember what country it was. I think it was Pakistan. I might be wrong. There was this Muslim bloke, I think he was like in his 40s, and he'd never met a non-Muslim before, and he never had cause to doubt Islam. But there was some nuns, Roman Catholic nuns, who actually went to war-torn regions and cared for the sick and the dying. And this actually gave him a crisis of faith, because he'd never known a non-Muslim. He never had reason to think of them as people or care about them, because he'd never known.
Yeah.
He sort of wrote this article where he was doubting his faith. And the reason for that is because he was saying they believe that Jesus is God, and you know they're not covered. They show their hands, but they're such good people. Their way, they're taking care of Muslims. They're not Christian. They're Muslims. Humanity. And do you think there's a conflict there with people who, like yourself, people who you know for a fact, they're not evil, they're not wicked, they're not corrupt, they're decent human beings?
Massive.
A religion which says
Massive.
that they're going to hell. I mean, do you think
Massively.
that there's a difference in mentality between someone like you, mostly non-Muslim society, and someone who is born in, let's say, Afghanistan?
Massively. And just to I'll complete my last point, which was what I was saying. So when I was 16, 17, I used to be, in Tottenham. If people know what Tottenham is, you have this kind of rude boy street culture. I came very much from that. I know how to speak street slang.
I've got to tell you that, like, you're from Tottenham. I've got to tell you this. I had a mate of mine visit me from States, and visit London, because she's like, oh hey, like I'm in like fucking England. I got to visit London. We're like, it's about 2 o'clock in the morning. Missed our transport. I had to get on a bus. It's going to Tottenham. She's like, oh no, I think it's still going on. Pet. I am, and because we got like we got bags. We look like tourists. And I just says to her, fucking way in hell, I'm going to Tottenham at 2 o'clock in the morning looking like a tourist. Might as well strap a sign on my back. Yeah, try.
That's how it was, and that's the reality of
So that's not just prejudice on my part.
No, it's not. That's how parts of Tottenham were, but especially back in the day, you'd walk down the street and someone say my hat, they take it off your head, and you're like, what can you do? Like, that's how it used to be.
That's like where I grew up as a kid.
Well,
but honestly,
so just to answer Raven, just to answer your question in regards to that, So just to answer,
your religion, it says this and that about non-Muslims, but you're raised in a non-Muslim country.
I was born in a non-Muslim. Yeah. So
someone that doesn't have that experience, how do you think that mentality? How do you think it affects how you see Islam?
I think
because I suppose I could make the argument. Not thinking logically, you're thinking emotionally. It's not intelligence, it's empathy. How do you respond to that?
I would say two things. Number one, the first thing is, when I grew up with Anjem Chowdhury, what the Islamists do is they isolate you on purpose. One of the tactics of the Islamists is it's very much this kind of Muslims are superior and everyone else is going to hell. I question that narrative now, you see. I don't believe that narrative anymore. I don't believe that not all non-Muslims are going to hell. I don't believe I have a right to say anyone's going to hell. Imam Ghazali, and I mentioned this last week, said that everyone, to be a kafir, this is the thing, and this is the thing with what kafir is. A kafir is someone that rejects Islam when it's been clearly presented to them. Now, the Imam Ghazali said, and he was a great theologian who's called Hujjat al-Islam, proof of Islam in the 10th century. He said that if Islam hasn't been presented to people properly, i.e. it's coming in a distorted version, i.e. Wahhabism, then that person hasn't had a chance to reject Islam, so therefore they'll have an excuse on the Day of Judgment. I believe in a merciful God. I believe many people that, I think if you're a good person, you'll be judged accordingly. I don't believe that all non-Muslims are going to hell. I believe there's some disgusting
and
ones.
obviously I'm coming at this as some, when I first read the Quran, and obviously I'm coming at this as a non-Muslim, to me it seemed a Nazi book. It really did. It seemed like Mein Kampf. And a reason for that is because, I mean, obviously I'm coming at this as a non-Muslim, so if I was a believer, I'm sure I would have a different perspective.
Yeah.
But it's like page, it's slagging you off. I mean, it's almost like you open. It's almost like, you know, to a non-Muslim, you open the Quran. Fuck you. You turn the next page.
I don't.
Turn the next page. Your mother's a whore, and you're just like, you're sort of holding it, and you're like,
I don't think that's.
Can I give you an example just here? Because this is Surah 60. Oh, you. Okay,
if
like,
you no, Abu, if we go
Okay.
into certain
like
if you want to go into certain
Sorry.
surahs, I think it's only fair. If you want to go to certain surahs, it's only fair that you tell them surahs, and I'll prepare you for them, and I can prepare for them adequately. But
no, but it's because you say that there is no, that this separating yourself from kuffar, that this is completely wrong. I mean, from Zahir al-Nas in Qur'an, you're going against the Qur'an, and you can't deny the Qur'an as you can deny Sahih Hadith.
I'm not denying the Quran. I believe the Quran is the perfect word of God, and I believe it's the one revelation. But what I'm saying, there's interpretation of the Quran. Now, Raven asked me, does it make a difference if you mix with people? Absolutely. The Prophet ﷺ had mixed with people. He went on expeditions. If you look at his early life, it is said that he went to Syria, he went to Palestine, he went to other places. He mixed with non-Muslims. He understood. There's people nowadays, and this is why I call Wahhabi Islam,
but he also said
Bedouin Saudi Arabia Islam, because what they try to do.
You even had one of his own companions, like his mother died. His own mother. No, you can't pray for her. You can't go to a funeral.
That's not true.
And I've got to be honest. I'm reading this, and I'm reading Muhammad saying, "No, you can't do this." And I'm thinking to myself,
there's also a hadith that said that says his parents will be in heaven.
No, that's not true. No.
That is true. The hadith that these guys do, they say, "No, my parents, your parents are in hell." It's bullshit.
Will go to heaven. But no, it was very clear in the scripture. It was very clear in the hadiths.
No, it's not clear.
His companion's parents would not go to heaven.
Which companion?
No, I mean, it was very clear when you read the hadiths, because one of Muhammad's companions actually asked him, "Is going to be the fate of my mother?" And Muhammad said, "Well, she's a non-Muslim. She's going to hell."
That's not true. That's the thing, and that's the hadith that the people send you.
True. This is a hadith that I've read.
Which you'll have to quote. Yeah, and that's the thing. There's hadith there's also another hadith that says that the Prophet ﷺ brought his mother and his father back to life, and then they
Well, I know you said earlier,
but that's what I'm saying.
I know you said earlier that
the majority view is that the Prophet ﷺ's family is going to heaven. The Wahhabi view is that they're going to hell, and they push this.
Wait a minute. Like this.
No. That's
I have a few other questions. One of them,
but Raven, can you wait a little bit? Raven, can you wait a little bit?
With
let Raven finish.
What you said about filter.
Yeah.
I have some questions about what you said about data and filters. One of the things you said is that you believe that the Quran is the word of Allah.
Yes.
It was filtered through the mind of Muhammad.
Yeah, the purest filter, we say.
So, do you believe obviously what you're saying is it's very interesting to me, because you're saying yes, this is also saying it's filtered through the human mind. So, do you believe that it is word for word by Allah, or do you believe that the Quran, Allah's message,
You're cutting out
fallible
sometimes.
mind of humans, or you cannot take it literally, and that this is the inspired word of God?
I believe the. No, I believe.
Not actually dictated literally by God.
No, I believe it's absolutely dictated by God. I believe it's the dictated through
So
the.
you don't believe it was filtered for human? You think that
No,
it's
I believe
actually
it was
word for word what Allah wants?
I believe it's the word for word for God, but I believe that the way that the word is communicated is through language, i.e., Arabic language. Now, with language, you always have issues. One word can mean several different things. So that's why it's very important to understand the hyperbole of the Prophet ﷺ, how he spoke, what he meant. Was it meant as a joke? Was he being serious? I mean,
okay. One of the other things you said I was quite curious about. And I have to ask you this first. The Bible.
I have parts of it. I haven't read it word for word verbatim.
I'm a little. Well, if you say parts of it, maybe
Yeah.
my question still. If you say parts of it, then my question may still apply. It might not, depending on what you've read. But you said that with the Quran, you said it's a mysterious book. You said it gives hints and things like that. And actually, I was actually familiar with the Bible when I first decided to look into Islam. I'd read the Bible before I read the Quran. And Quran, what was really surprising to me, I relied on the Bible. If you look at the Quran, it's about the biblical narrative. It says like, the Quran is like, and did we not say, and do you not remember when, and was this not just? And if I wasn't familiar with the Bible, I would have no fucking clue what the Quran was on about. But because I knew the Bible, it said like, and did we not say, yeah, that's in Exodus, and did we not stress, yep, Book of Eli. The Quran made sense to me because I was familiar with the Bible, and it's obvious to me that I know that that's obviously not true, but it's obvious that the writers of the Quran read it.
Raven, try to make it.
And I just found that. Just for one example, one surprised me considering how gung ho circumcision. I've never met a single Muslim who knows why Muslims should be circumcised. They don't actually know, and it's like if they will just read the Bible and illustrates the covenant of God with Abraham and the Jews. Where it actually it's right there why there's circumcision. Okay, and even the Quran hints at it. It talks about and did not the covenant make. I think it's even in chapter 2, Surah Al-Cow. It talks about the covenant. It doesn't say what it is. You have to have read the Bible to know what it's talking about.
Yeah.
Raven, can you try to make it short and concise?
I've known.
What exactly is your question?
Left the religion, they tend to read the Bible because they're curious about how the religion evolved. And when I speak to ex-Muslims and even Arabic speakers who have memorized the Quran, they've read the Bible and it's like, oh wow, this explains so much that I didn't know before.
Okay, Raven, you made your point. What is your question?
Yeah, so my thing about, there's a lot of Muslims that go around bashing the Bible. I think the Bible's a beautiful book. I think there's obviously issues within the Bible and stuff like that, but I actually enjoy reading the Bible. And your point of, yes, it takes a lot from the Bible. Absolutely. We believe that the Quran is the Quran is the final message.
Saying is, you can't understand the Quran without the Bible.
and this is the point I was making
But
earlier.
I mean, even that. But
when
even
when people
Bible,
Raven,
even that itself does not necessarily go against Islam.
no,
It doesn't go against Islam because the whole point of the Quran is that it came down to clarify and to correct.
Raven, I give you
Necessarily-
half a minute to
If
give
I
you a
could just
question, then we're
conclude.
gonna go to Naim.
Yeah, that's fine. Raven, and just to quickly, just I'm going to answer that really quickly. I mean, that's the point I was making earlier. There's people who go and interpret the Quran, and they don't have any understanding of the pre-stories in the Bible. They don't understand where this is coming from, the information it's coming from. You know, and that for me, learning about the life of Jesus Christ, learning about the Bible, actually brought me closer towards Islam. Now we have to understand this: the Quran makes this claim, and is an extraordinary claim. The Quran makes the claim that basically it's the final message. So we believe that there's 315 messengers, 124,000 prophets. I believe the Bhagavad Gita, there's much of that's revelation. I believe that the early Jewish scripture, I believe the Bible absolutely is scripture. It's called Al-Kitab, the people of the book. What is the book? And that we believe the Quran is just the final version of that continuous message.
Okay, fine. We all know that. Now it's Naim's turn.
So you're not happy with Joseph Smith?
No, Naim, it's your turn.
No.
Well, if you say,
I'm sorry, I'm not going to answer. If he's going to put a picture like that, I'm really not going to answer him. I think.
Yeah, okay, fine. Just pussy about it. The question is still valid. If you say it's the final thing, it's the final revelation, it's more or less.
I actually still had a question.
No, Raven.
I still had a question.
No, write it down and take it later. Now it's Naim's turn.
I'm not
want to
going
ask
to answer Naim. I think he's an idiot. I think he's just there to insult. If you're
Yeah,
gonna
I
put,
still
if,
will
you, if you're going to
ask.
put a
You
picture
can-
like that up, you change your picture on purpose.
Yeah,
to insult
just
me.
cry,
But that's fine,
cry me a
I
river
will,
about
I
it
will.
later.
I'm not.
So now it's my picture. Let Naim talk.
If it's said it's the final thing, it rounds up the revelation in general. How comes it that in the Quran says so often that the books before are corrupted? You can't claim it is now the final thing and it conceives everything and it makes it complete. But in the same book, you have many places where it says the people corrupted the old book and all the revelations, and I mean, it's so silly. It's silly, and it shows the silliness of some Muslims if they react like you do. Oh, I see a picture of Muhammad. I can't answer you because my feelings.
No,
I
I
mean,
think you there deliberately to insult. I mean, where I'm trying to have a conversation, trying to engage with people, trying to get a message that I believe that many people don't hear. But you've come
from Hadith.
you've come.
What can I do? I can't do anything about it. Sorry.
And you've come and you deliberately change your picture just to insult me, and you think I'm gonna listen to you, and I just think no.
Yeah,
Can you say the name? You have to remember, how often do we get Muslims on the show? Like, I understand that you're upset.
So what? No, sorry. I'm not this kind of person who
pragmatically.
Who pets the
Is this the thing we want to talk about?
You are being.
No, I mean, we start. Sorry, Raven.
Like Sarah can.
No, Raven, let Naim talk now.
We started to talk about hadiths and what were valid hadiths and what are sahih hadiths and what are not so good hadiths and which are fabricated. And I mean, this picture comes in the general from a sahih hadith, and he is upset about a picture which describes the hadith of a sahih collection.
That is that is
silly. You know why I don't care about fuzzy feelings of Muslims who are supposedly insulted by a picture of a sahih hadith. I don't understand it, and I don't care about the feelings at all. I mean, how can you be insulted of a sahih hadith? Or is it now because
I agree, but the thing is, I think Mr. Saracen will have some way to go around it and say it's not Sahih or something like that. Isn't that?
He doesn't have to answer. I said he doesn't have to answer, but I don't care about his cozy want to be feelings.
Yeah.
Okay, Abu, to answer
That's a
you.
big move
to
on
an-
your part.
No,
Yeah.
one at
That
a
is a
time.
big
Saracen
move on
now.
your part.
Saracen now. Saracen now.
Abu, just to answer you, yeah, you're gonna say I don't believe. I'm not saying that hadith is absolutely in the collections of Bukhari or Muslim, one of those. But there's 15 proofs that she wasn't 6 and she certainly wasn't 9. I do refer you. I asked this question to Imam and he did a 2-hour lecture on it. If you listen to Mufti Abu Layth, was Aisha 9? I absolutely don't. I'm going to do 15 videos why she wasn't 9 years old. And I believe that if you only take Bukhari and take that hadith literally, then you know you can insult Islam as much as you want. I don't believe she was 9 at
Okay,
all.
but you have to agree that the majority of all Sunni Muslims take Sahih Bukhari seriously.
In recent times, yes.
In recent times. Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, but I think we're gonna go back to I wrote down because we have to. I think we have to be on the topic
Should we let
here.
TJ one? You know.
Oh yeah. TJ, your turn.
All right. Geez, you guys were talking about so much and you covered what I was going to ask, so I'm trying to think of something right now. Just give me a second. I mean, I guess when it comes down to it, do you see any way, as the Muslim population increases in Europe, do you see any way where the democratic values or constitutional values can be retained?
I think we're at a critical junction, TJ. I think not just in the UK and the West, I think around the whole world, in India, Pakistan, whilst Wahhabism has billions, over $100 billion of funding, you know, we're up against people, lone voices like myself and a few others that, you know, we have to get the message of normative Islam out there. We have to show that, you know, you don't have to take things literally. Otherwise, you know, people are getting frustrated, they're getting fed up. Absolutely. You know, if I was a non-Muslim, I'd be fed up as well with Islam. You know, you have to show that this isn't the. I think we need more draconian laws. I really do feel we need more draconian laws to cut Wahhabi funding, to cut Wahhabi literature, to cut Wahhabi mosques. And that's what I feel on that.
I mean,
okay.
Currently at this time, though, do you feel unsafe? You know,
I don't feel unsafe. I mean, I'm pretty well integrated. You know, I get on well with people. But that said, you know, I have a beard. I look quite smart. I'd like to think I do. You know, I present myself quite smartly. You know, I'm studied. You know, I went to law school. I'm not like the average sort of Muslims that you see on the street that can't communicate. Or, you know, I like to think I can communicate. I like to think I can put my point across. You know, I like to think, but I'm very willing to listen to other people. The problem is nowadays we're coming against people that is, oh, it's taqiyya. This is another thing. Oh, he's covering up. Oh, he's lying. You know, I don't believe in all this taqiyya nonsense. You know, I accept there's certain people that probably do it. I try to be as genuine and let people decide. I try to be as genuine as I can. I try to get my message across. I'm not here to deceive people. If I don't know something, I'll say I don't know. But, you know, I just want to get the message across. There is another version of Islam out there.
You have gone a long way from saying there is another version from Islam out there and saying you're not representing Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah.
Well, I don't think Wahhabis. I think Wahhabis are Khawarij, but then we're gonna have a show.
Yeah, that is the next week show. Do you have any more questions, Mr. TJ?
I guess my last question would have to, you know, seeing as how we're both South Asian, I guess a yes or no would suffice for this question. Ultimately, do you think that the partition of India, you know, solved any problems, or was a solution to the to the communal issue that was going on?
So I didn't hear the last bit, TJ.
No, I said that. Do you think that the partition of India? Do you think that it was? Do you think it was beneficial, or do you think it solved any problems? Like, do you think it had any positive effects on our region?
I think there was positive and negative, to be honest with you. That's how I'd answer it. It's such a huge question you've asked me with that one, and we'd probably need a whole show to go. I think there was definitely some positives and there's many negatives as well. I don't believe in divide and rule. For me personally, I see my Indians as my brothers and sisters. I grew up, obviously, some of my best friends were Hindu and Sikh. So then I went to a Jewish college. I've had going back to what Raven said, I've had the luxury of mixing. I've been very fortunate to be in North London, where I've mixed with lots of different communities. My manager at work was gay. You know, I used to hate gay people, but then after I've, you know, met him, and, you know, I had to relook at my thing, my religion. You know, it's changed my views on a lot of things. You know, when you interact with people, when you learn about things, you just learn. I've learned a lot about Hinduism. I've learned a lot about Sikhism. And I think at the core, I think they're beautiful religions.
What you're saying is astonishing. You think that religions other than Islam is beautiful.
Yes, I do.
I think that is clearly going against the Quran. But anyway,
okay.
Okay, you have any more questions, TJ?
Yeah, I actually have a few questions.
No,
one
not
of them
you.
is
I asked
inspired
TJ.
by that.
Okay,
No,
your
I'm
turn.
good. I'm good.
Okay, Raven. Raven, it's your turn. تفضل Raven.
So, Hassan, one of the questions I have is actually inspired by that teacher that offended you. I'm assuming you're aware of
You're cutting out something. I didn't hear the last part.
I can't hear you, Raven.
I think
Sorry,
the audio. Try to fix the audio.
assuming that Saracen, you're aware of Draw Muhammad Day.
Yes, I'm aware of it. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
Listen,
I just want to say, after this question, please keep to the subject after this question, because
yeah, I think you're right.
we're gonna have this guy on the show more times, so we try to keep.
Yeah, I'll answer that question.
But that's the last. Answer that question, and then we try to keep.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear.
I myself, I don't believe in absolute freedom of speech. I think that there's something more important than freedom of speech, and I believe that's keeping harmony and keeping society safe. I believe that unfortunately we are living in times where people will go absolutely nuts and people will get killed, and I think we have to. I think human life is more precious than that. Yes, should we not pander in? Fine. Unfortunately, it's the people who tend to suffer are the weakest people. So you draw something like that, there's going to be riots in Bangladesh, in Pakistan, in Egypt. People are going to get shot dead. I can't justify that. Why? Because we want to impose our freedom of speech. Now, freedom of speech and all that, they came from a very particular situation. You have to understand the secular history of Europe. If you look at the secular history of Europe, where science was oppressed, free thinkers were oppressed, many literature was thinking, there was a lot of repression by the church. Islam, the milieu that Islam came from, by and whole, I'm not saying that there's no exceptions, but by and whole, it was a bit more freedom. There was a bit more free than that. If you look at for example, the golden age of Islam that we talked about last week, people were absolutely able to make scientific inquiry. They're absolutely able to write literature. Voltaire is said to be inspired by Al-Mahdi, who was an atheist in the Muslim state, who wrote some horrific things about the Prophet ﷺ. Abu Nawaz wrote some context matters. So when things are when things are quite hyper, and people are likely to have the caliph has to make a decision. We don't have a caliph at the moment. I think the Muslims are in complete disarray. I think some of the Muslims, unfortunately, this is the reality. If you look at this, some of the poorest people in the world, we're living in pre-colonial times where colonialism has raped and ravaged many of the cities across the world, Muslims and non-Muslim cities. But generally, if you look at India, for example, you look at how developed Bangladesh was before the British went in, and there's a book coming out by Suresh Surati, I can't remember his surname, The Inglorious Empire. I recommend people read that. But it's made a difference, and now we look at Muslims and we think, oh, these backward community, they get all hyper up, they can't take a joke, we can draw these things. The thing is, some people take things, some things are sacred to people. The Prophet ﷺ is sacred to me. The Quran is sacred to me. You know, there are certain things. Just because we don't believe in religion.
No, Raven. We are gonna see
so many things which.
I give you 30 seconds, Saracen. Then we're gonna continue.
Yeah, you know,
I
I was concluding. I was just saying that there's certain things that I find sacred. Now, because you don't believe and you come from a certain milieu, now you want to superimpose your freedom of speech. It's all right, you know. When you're at the top, it's like insult a tramp and cuss his mother. You know, he's gonna react because he's at the bottom of the thing very much differently to someone who's just, you know, who's just won the lottery and lives in a 5-star apartment. Okay, finish. Now you got your 30 seconds have gone. Now we're gonna continue on the subject. No more questions that is outside the subjects, because now we're going on for, what is it, 3 hours. So now we're gonna keep to the subject until the end, please. Yeah, sure. I'm gonna have to go in about 15 minutes anyway. So
okay,
let's stick to so let's talk about the.
Maybe something.
Sorry, if you have to go in 50 minutes,
Raven,
I would actually quite enjoy speaking to you. Would you be okay with adding on Skype?
Yeah, certainly. I don't really go on Skype to be much, Raven. I will be on the show next week, but subscribe to my channel.
Okay,
send me your email.
You can email him on his channel. Okay, good. Okay. I think we have too many questions. I have too many questions and too many things to say that we can make in 15 minutes. So I'm just going to go from the top, and then maybe we have to postpone it. Before, you were talking about, remember that chat we had about last week's show? We're talking about scholars from Al-Azhar.
Yeah.
So do you think that the scholars from Azhar are from Ahl Sunnah, and are they teaching the right thing?
I think the scholars from Al-Azhar have changed. I think Al-Azhar used to be a very sound institution with Sunni scholars. I think, unfortunately, it was infiltrated by the Muslim Brotherhood and Wahhabis for many, many years. Under Sisi now, that's changing back to Al-Sunnah. They're rooting out the people who follow Ibn Taymiyyah.
What you are says Al-Sunnah. Okay, but they are teaching Bukhari and Muslim, aren't they?
Who? Sorry. Oh yes, in Al-Azhar, yes, of course.
Normal Shafi'i fiqh, they are teaching Bukhari and Muslim and all that.
Yes, absolutely.
So you're recognizing that they are not really on your madhab?
No, I'm saying that at the moment, listen, let me just make one thing clear. I love Imam Bukhari, I love Imam Muslim. I think there was millions, and well, probably not millions, but thousands of hadith that were fabricated, and they did an excellent job in sieving out them. But what I would say is that there are certain hadiths that aren't completely authentic. My opinion is what
most people think that, but it's like you are kind of denying
the Muwatta. No. And my opinion is the Muwatta of Imam Malik is more sound. You know, and this is not. It's not just me that has this opinion. This is what I'm saying. One has to.
But you're trying to portray it as if, like, the majority of Muslims are on your opinion, and that you are representing the Sunnah. And
and if I have come across that, I'm saying that if you look at the history, and I recommend you this book, Abu, because you know, it's called Saladin, the Trump of the Sunni revival by Dr. Azam. Now he goes through the whole history of when Sunnism became Sunnism, and then the second book which the one that changed my life, is called The Principles of Testing Hadith, and it's done by Sheikh Atabek and Shukro. The Hanafi Principles of Testing Hadith. That book changed my life because
now we heard it. Fine, you can go and check that up. Okay, we take another question, because this is interesting. You said the Quran source or misguidance for some. Okay, so the Quran is a misguidance for some. So how do you know?
It says that in the book. It says
yeah, I agree. So what's the standard to know what is true? Not what is misguidance, but what is the standard to know what is true? What's the method we should use if we want to know what is the true Islam?
I refer back to school and madhab. I absolutely follow a madhab. So the madhabs will then sieve out what certain surahs mean.
No. Madhab, you're saying that the
The Jewish
Hanafi
school of
madhab,
Jewish, yeah.
the Hanafi madhab, so we should go and read the Hanafi madhab, is that?
Yeah, I believe you should follow a scholar of the Hanafi madhab who's authentic and who's got ijaza.
Okay. So are you saying that we should follow Imam Abu Hanifa himself?
I'm saying Imam Abu Hanifa was a Salafi who had understanding of the Quran. He met a companion of the Prophet ﷺ. But this is what I'm saying. Here's the thing. How do we know the Prophet ﷺ said it? How do we know? How do we know what the Quran means? We all need to go through someone, be it a book, be it a scholar.
But you're saying that we should follow what Abu Hanifa thought.
Yes, I follow. Not just Abu Hanifa. The Hanafi madhab. It's not just Imam Abu Hanifa. There's Imam Zafar. There's Imam Ibn Mubarak. There's Imam Hassan al-Shaybani. There's many great.
And they often contradict each other.
They absolutely. Yeah, they do.
Wait a minute. Okay, but so what about what's his name? Abu Yusuf, this boy that he was studying under.
Yeah.
What do you think about him?
I think they're all fantastic.
They're all fantastic.
Yes, I tell you
but
why.
But they're often contradicting each other. So whom of them?
Absolutely, but there's something called ijtihad, as you know. Thing is, if you've got it, here's the thing, and there's a hadith, as you know, someone that uses the ijtihad and they get it wrong, as long as it's based on sound,
he will get two rewards in heaven.
As long as they do it by the principles of doing it.
Yeah, but now you're avoiding the question again.
How am I?
I want to know. You say that some Quran is misguidance for some. What's the method we should use
I don't think I can be any more clearer. You follow a Sunni.
If you can't be more clear than this, then you're really unclear.
No, because I don't think you want to understand.
No, I want to understand.
Okay.
Look, I'm from a scientific, I follow the school of Karl Popper. What does Karl Popper say? I can see very clearly. If I simplify it very easy, you make up theories based on what you think that you know. Then you go out in the world and you test things experimentally.
The imperialist model. You follow the imperialist way.
No, you go and read. Don't confuse things. But let's say, what are you saying? What is the right way? If we want to know the truth about Islam, what is the true Islam? What exactly is the method we should use?
And just on a side point, Popper was inspired by Sheikh Haytham. Anyway, that's another point for another show. So what I say is you follow a madhab, you choose a madhab, once you've chosen a madhab, they follow Quran and Sunnah, you have expert legal opinions. Let me break it down in layman terms, so hopefully you can understand this now, yeah? If you go to medical school, you study for 5 years, you get permission to be a GP, surgeon, if you want to specialize, etc. You can't just pick up a textbook and say, oh, I'm a doctor. You're a quack. who's going to go to that? Unfortunately, that's what we've got. So I say that you follow a GP who's got permission from a GP if you want to do it surgically like that, who's qualified.
Okay, we understand that point. We have heard that thousands of times.
No, we haven't. It's the second time.
No, we have had. No, but
explain to me what you don't understand.
The Wahhabis say the exact same thing. So
they don't.
Anyway, okay, but so we have these four major schools. No, Raven. We have these four major schools, okay, and you should pick one of them and then just follow them, okay. So if I just happen to randomly pick Ahmed ibn Hanbal, I will pretty much, or I will exactly end up in what you call Wahhabism.
No, with Ahmed bin Hanbal, the school of Ahmed bin Hanbal is subdivided. Now, there's opinion of what Ahmed bin Hanbal believed, but unfortunately, with the Hanbali school, they were infiltrated by the Mujassima anthropologists.
Okay.
So this is important. No. Okay,
I randomly pick.
Okay, Malik. Yeah. So follow Imam Malik, absolutely. Follow the Maliki fiqh, go to qualified scholars, and you hopefully go to Imam
Malik. You are a Maturidi. You said that before.
Yes.
Maturidi from what Imam Malik called Ahlul Kalam, and Imam Malik was clearly against Ahlul Kalam. So I'm going. So if I randomly pick Imam Malik, then I'm going to go against your school.
Maturidis weren't Imam Kalam. No, not at all. There was certain people that followed the Maturidi school, that followed Kalam. I don't deny that. But what I'm saying, the Maturidis by general, they were scholars. They followed Imam Abu Hanifa. Imam Mansur al-Maturidi was a Hanafi.
Yes.
Imam Hassan al-Ashari was a Shafi.
Was born 2 years before Ahmed ibn Hanbal died, if I don't remember.
Who's that? Sorry.
Abu Mansur al-Maturidi.
Yeah, but he was a Hanafi. That's what I'm saying. He followed the school of Imam Abu Hanifa.
But what is the exact school of Abu Hanifa? Because you are saying things like all these hudud, you should cut off the hand of the thief and you should stone the, or whatever. I remember what the exact ruling in Hanafi fiqh is. Another good example, for example, the Taliban movement. They are Maturidi in their aqidah about Asma wa Sifat, and they are following Hanafi fiqh. And they are doing the exact same things that they're accusing the Wahhabis of doing.
No, the Taliban were highly influenced by Wahhabism, and that's just a historical fact.
Okay. But they're following the Hanafi school of.
They claim to be following. Let's be clear.
They're following exactly the Hanafi school of.
They're not. They're claiming to follow the Hanafi. If you claim to follow a Hanafi, but most of your opinions are Wahhabi, and you pick and choosing the things that you want from a Wahhabism.
Go back to look at the earliest Hanafi school of fiqh and look what they say in those.
So let's look at homosexuality. The earliest Hanafi fiqh says that there is no punishment of killing homosexuals. Absolutely none. It says that if someone's calling, there's something called tazir punishment. That's called discretionary punishment. The maximum discretion is 39 lashes, but it's up to the qadi, it's up to the judge, and the person doesn't even have to be whipped. It could be just a telling off or a stern look. So that's one thing.
Would you want that?
No, Raven.
Would you want that?
Raven, don't go into that. Stop.
No. Why I'm saying, I think in a tolerant society, where the thing is, the Quran is based on, Islam is based on certain things. Yeah, if you look at the early message of Islam, he preached Tawheed, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He preached the oneness of Allah. Then he preached ethics and morality. The ethics and morality for 13 years. He had he had a core people. No, you haven't. This is the key point. Then it went into society, then he became a state leader, then the punishments. Now, if you just take away ethics and morality, how can you have hudud punishment? It's unjust.
Don't forget about that. Now we're not talking about that. Now we're talking about Hanafi fiqh. Don't go away from Hanafi.
No, but the Hanafi fiqh is based on this.
You made a claim there. I'm going to go back and listen to this, hear exactly what your claim is there. And I want you to go back and give me the source of this, because according to everything that I have learned about Hanafi fiqh, what you're saying now is incorrect.
Okay, so when I get off the thing, I'll put a link in the chat. I can't go on chat right now because I'm on my phone. I'll put a link.
No, but you have the whole week to the next show when we talk about.
No, I'll absolutely put it in there. You can have a look, and it gives you the opinions of homosexuality and Islam and Hanafis and how it's changed. So
just before we go away from the topic of what do you think of the book Fiqh al-Akbar?
The Fiqh al-Akbar is attributed to Imam Abu Hanifa, but scholarship has shown that he didn't write it himself. So there's different versions. So for example, going upon that version, there's one version going back to the parents of the Prophet ﷺ. There's one version that says Imam Abu Hanifa said the Prophet ﷺ's family, his parents are going to be in the hellfire. There's another version that says no. It says that they're going to be in heaven. Which one do you believe? It depends. This is the thing. He didn't write it himself. The Fiqh al-Akbar was written a few generations later. So yes, that's my opinion on that.
But you're a Maturidi. That's great.
I follow the creed of Imam Maturidi. The creed means dogma. So what I believe, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has certain attributes.
So you follow him. He's the dude. We can trust him.
No, I to refer to people, dude, is a bit demeaning. But
sorry. He's the sheikh.
I follow the sheikh. I follow the sheikh who gets it from Qur'an and Sunnah. Yes.
Okay, so what you're saying is do you know what Maturid means in Arabic?
I don't know.
It means what you want. Ma is what.
It's not. It's not. It's
want.
not. It's not relevant.
No. I'm just thinking it's funny. Because
no.
Actually, his real name I actually think was Maturidi. So it's not really. But I just think it's funny that you're following a guy whose name is like what you want, and I get the feeling that you're following just what you want. You don't care about the real evidence. You don't go back to evidence.
I think
You're living in a Western society, and you see everything nice. You don't like stoning and cutting off the thief's hand. And killing homosexuals. So you're just following what you want, but you don't care about evidence.
I think what you were following was a Bedouin Islam that came from Najd. No. I do.
Yes,
and
I'm just trying to silence.
There's certain people who appropriate religion, and that's perfectly. You could say that, and I accept that. Take that on the chin.
Okay.
But I would say that
the Prophet Muhammad, where did he come from?
The Prophet no, but you can't. The Prophet was highly. Here's the thing: the Prophet wasn't
highly
a Bedouin.
What?
He wasn't a Bedouin. He was highly educated. He was highly refined.
He was an Arab, and he was Ummi.
No. That's debated.
The Qur'an says he's Ummi.
No, it does not. Yeah, but what does Ummi mean? Go on, explain to me what Ummi means.
It means illiterate.
Yes, but that's debated. That's debated in early Islam. This is what I'm saying to you, Abu. You've left Islam, but you haven't studied the early controversy. You haven't understood the early debate.
It's always been debated. To you, I just happen to know the language that the Prophet Muhammad speaks. This
is what Wahhabis say. Oh, we know the language. You don't know the language. You know Arabic language is completely different to the Quranic Arabic. It's completely
so we can go back and look at the pre-Arabic sources.
That's fine. But it's a way to beat down non-people who don't speak Arabic, and this is the problem. Unfortunately,
so you who don't speak Arabic,
but this is the thing. I don't believe in Arabic. I don't believe in Arabic.
Can speak Arabic?
No, yes. Because it depends on understanding. I'm referring to people who have understood the Arabic, who were there at the time, who articulate that, the complete Arabic experts, not the Wahhabis that have come 200 years ago and try to impose their superiority.
I am not looking at the Wahhabis. I'm looking at the original.
Arabic, and then the debate is shut down.
That is the thing, Saracen. Abu can read these old things by these who were there because they spoke Arabic.
But the Arabic has changed. The Arabic has changed.
Like any language, that's normal. But still, Abu has more knowledge in this field.
I don't think he has. I really don't.
For the first, I didn't speak today's. Look, I have a problem when I speak to modern Arabs. You know why? Because they speak a different language. Because the language I was taught is the old classical one. So I can read old books by Ibn Kathir. It's much easier for me to understand than when I listen to modern guys. So the language that I was taught was the language that was preserved exactly to preserve the religion. So that is the language that I was taught. And yes, maybe there's differences. We can go back and look what the poets in pre-Islamic times, how they use the words, and then we can compare it. It's relatively easy.
Yes, but just because you can speak a language doesn't mean that you understand the language, doesn't mean that you understand the context, doesn't mean that you've been schooled.
But you can go back and look how the Salaf understood it.
Yes, and this is the problem. How do you know how the Salaf? You're relying on people.
Because we have their books. For example, Imam Malik, we have his book.
And who wrote that book? This is the thing. You're relying. Yeah, exactly. You're relying on people who are publishing things that are manipulating it. And you can laugh as much as you like.
So you're denying the authenticity of Imam Malik's.
No, I'm not denying that. I'm not denying what Imam Malik said. I'm saying that I'm putting my trust in a school of thought. I'm saying with you, Abu, you're putting your trust equally in publishing houses.
No, I'm not. I'm not putting in. Look, I think that the what you call Wahhabi narrative, I think it's false. In fact, I think that I'm very doubtful that the Prophet Muhammad lived where he's said to be living at all. So
even though modern scholarship thinks that's they've rejected that.
Look, I don't know. Like, it's not like in physics where we can repeat experiments over and over and over again. So the thing is, I don't accept this narrative. I have doubts about it. I don't know what happens. I want to know that. But the thing is, whatever question I throw to you, you always avoid making it testable. There's no way I can test your theory. There's no way I can know this is the true interpretation. And then you argue.
But this is my point, Abu. What I'm saying to you is there's much of things that are debated. And I go back to what I said in Tom Holland's book. There's many things that, it's not clear. Ibn Hishaq, he was rejected by Imam Malik. He said that he didn't take from Ibn Ishaq, and that's our earliest history book. But before Ibn Ishaq, there was other books written. We don't have those copies. There's the Muazzi, or I think it's Ibn Sa'd, Imam Waqidi. There's Ibn Tabari. Their methodology is completely different.
So then I ask you, Allah sends down the Qur'an to us, and He sent His last prophet. I mean, creator of the universe that has created everything we know around us, like the hundreds of billions of galaxies, in each of them of hundreds of billions of stars. And then He sends this thing and He says, Alhamdulillah alladhi anzala ala abdihi al-kitaba wa lam yaj'alhu iwaja. And then it's completely unclear to me, how do I know what is the correct version of Islam if it's not this obvious way that I think it's just completely obvious? What is your version? You say you're randomly following a madhab, but how do I know what madhab to follow? And within the madhab, how do I know what version of the madhab I should follow? Especially the Hanafi school, since they are contradicting each other all the time.
But this. I don't see that as a negative. I can go no. You can laugh, but this is if you want to understand my position, I'm trying to explain it to you, right? I've obviously I believe in Islam, and there's many different opinions in the Hanafi. I can say this opinion is justified for this society. Now, in Islam, we have maqasid, the Sharia, the higher principles of Sharia. You obviously, I'm sure you know what that means. That is protection of life, protection of wealth, protection of property, protection of lineage, protection of intellect. Those 5 things, those are agreed upon. That's agreed upon by Muslims. So if you have those 5 principles of Sharia, then you have legal opinions.
That you should follow Sahih al-Bukhari, and you say,
no. I think you're misrepresenting it. Then you have the jurisprudence. So, like you said, absolutely, we have difference of opinions. We have many different opinions in the Hanafis, in the Malikis, and in the Shafis. Let me
give me a clear answer. Maybe I'm completely stupid.
Because you're not listening. Because you're laughing, but you're not trying to listen.
No, I have been listening.
Okay, listen.
I'll give you 1 minute. From now, 1 minute.
Okay. So what I said is, so you've got those different opinions. You've got the maqasid of Sharia, which I just explained a few minutes ago. You've got the difference of opinion. Then you have to do it according to society. You work on the premise that Islam, the Sharia doesn't change. I work on the premise that the Sharia changes according to time, space, and place. And that's always how it's been. The Hanafi madhab has always made that clear, that the Sharia must adapt to the time and place. There's certain things, obviously, that you don't reject Allah, Prophet ﷺ, these things. But there's many things that are just legal opinions. They're opinions of people. They're fatwas.
Okay. Now I'm giving you the minute. So you're saying that Islam changes?
No, I think you just missed what I've just said.
Well, okay, I can go back and listen. Everyone can go back and listen here exactly what you say.
I want certain things that don't change.
Okay, but not just continue this, because
and there's certain things that are dhanni. So just to be clear, qat'i is clear cut, dhanni is unclear. So the unclear things are often things that are debated. So time, space is relevant.
Yeah, so how do I know what is qat'i and why do I know what's dhanni?
So these are the things that what people debate. These are what the jurisprudence debate. So when a fatwa is just a legal opinion. It's not always binding. It can be replaced if evidence can produce, or there's in line with the maqasid of Sharia.
Allah yadik. To the next program, I want you to write down this and make it clear to me. What I'm asking is, how do I know what is the correct version of Islam? How do I come to that conclusion? What is the method?
Let me write it down.
Can you write it down and try to make it simple? Maybe I'm just completely stupid.
Maybe you haven't understood. I don't think I.
Yeah, I haven't understood you.
Okay.
I don't think I'm.
Let's be absolutely clear then. I
No,
believe
next
it,
to
no,
next
no, no,
show.
no. I don't need it now. I can do it in a minute. Give me a minute.
Okay, 1 minute.
So you follow a school of jurisprudence. You've obviously put your trust in them. You find a sheikh that's on that school of jurisprudence that has ijaza, that you trust, and that's how you follow Islam.
Okay, do you pray 5 times a day?
I do.
Too bad, because I was going to choose the school of Hanafi, and according to the school of Hanbali, and according to them, the guys that don't pray are kuffar.
Yes, and there's many Imam Ahmed bin Hanbal. There's certain narrations that he slandered Imam Abu Hanifa. That's fine, but that,
and
you know,
and Abu Bakr and Bukhari too.
Bukhari, yeah,
Slandered. I don't know.
they slandered each other. This is read the books they did. That's because
Yeah.
of, but
Okay.
we still believe that you follow one of them.
So you should just randomly pick a madhab. You don't know.
I
why
would
you
say
should pick
obviously
one.
do know. You obviously do your investigation beforehand. See what's more. I would say in the West, the best madhab is the Hanafi madhab. It's the most compatible.
Okay, so you should follow the Hanafi madhab.
I believe so. I'm a Hanafi. Of course I'm going to say that, but the Malikis.
Okay, so if you follow the Hanafi madhab, then we should be like the Taliban, because they are following the Hanafi madhab in fiqh. Although
I think
in
we had this
Aqidah they are
discussion.
following the Maturidi.
No, and this is exactly the problem. They've been infiltrated by the Wahhabi Khwarij. I mentioned that. And you can look for yourself, and you can do.
Okay, I think we're gonna have to continue this debate.
I think we'll get Rob to moderate us next time.
Yeah.
Should we let before I go, Abu, before I go.
Stupid. I can't really understand these things.
No.
Try to make it simple for us. I don't think I'm the only one who don't understand.
Maybe, but you have to want to understand as well.
Yeah, I want to understand.
Well,
I want to understand.
Okay,
but
that's
to
fine.
me, it's completely inconsistent.
No, that's fine.
Should
Before I go, should we let other people join in?
No, but we can let them in after you're gone. Are
Okay,
you going to go?
I still had a question.
Okay, Raven, give him a question.
I still had a question.
Yeah, please.
Yes.
So you know, before I was talking about, are you aware of Everybody Draw Muhammad Day?
I am, yeah.
I just want to quickly give you my thoughts on that, and then just get your response, because I'm quite curious.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you go.
Obviously, there was the Charlie Hebdo front cover magazine, and then they got murdered, and that was what inspired Everybody Draw Muhammad Day. It was a speech. When Everybody Draw Muhammad Day first happened, very much in favor of it. I thought this is a good thing. If I had a way to, if I had like a scanner so I could upload my drawings, definitely have participated. Do you remember the winner of Everybody Draw Muhammad Day? It was a figure of Muhammad, and he was saying me, and the artist was replying, draw you. And I thought that was absolutely brilliant, even though it didn't even look like what I imagined Muhammad to look like.
That is not a question. You're saying it's brilliant.
Version
it's not on the topic. Okay, fine.
It looked like
Mr. Sarasan.
What
are you going to? How long can you stay?
I'm gonna have to literally make a move in a few minutes. So yeah, I'm just listening to Raven.
Okay, but
I can leave it till next time.
Yeah. Take it to next time, Raven.
No problem. All right, well, listen, it's been nice talking to you guys.
Yeah, I think it's been really interesting.
Yeah, I
don't understand. I'm not sure I've become any wiser, but but to next week, inshallah ta'ala.
Inshallah. Abu, I'm gonna make dua for you, my brother. Inshallah,
I will make dua for you too.
Make dua that you come back to the Deen of Islam, inshallah.
Inshallah. Hadan Allahu Jamia.
Ameen. Take care. You take care. And Raven, nice talking to you as well, and all the other viewers. And
okay. Thank you very much, Sarasan.
See you later.
See you later, Sarasan.
Yes,
thank you.
I liked him. He seemed like a nice person.
Yeah, he is a nice person. It's just that he is completely, I mean, I don't want to stabbing him in the back now, but like, as I said, I can't make any sense of what they're saying. That is the problem. I just want to address
that you and him are coming at it from very different points of view.
Yeah, maybe I have to listen to this. I mean, maybe there's something. I mean, sometimes in the heat of the argument, but I really can't see the logic of it.
I don't really view religion as being logical. It's like I view it as being emotional. But that's kind of why I asked him that question about him being born into a society, and it's got to have an effect on you. You know, the milkman that brings you your milk, all this, all that, the pretty girl that smiles at you on the street, and all these people are not Muslim. You know, it's got to have an effect.
I agree. Most decisions we do, we make on emotions. If we had no emotions, we would be like, we wouldn't do anything. So I agree. It's just that now we're talking about madhahibs, and we're trying to figure out what is the true madhab, what is real Islam, and I couldn't see any coherence.
It's very possible that is his Islam.
That incoherence is, yeah, that's what I believe, but he's arguing that it's not.
This is like an honest question. There's only way to view it.
Yes.
You do.
Excuse me?
There's no central figurehead of Islam. There's no such thing as the Islamic Pope or the Islamic Dalai Lama. There's no central figurehead to say, this is what the religion is, this is what the texts mean. So you do have a kind of free-for-all.
No, because, look, you have the Qur'an. The Qur'an is very clear that you should follow God and you should follow the prophets. So you have the figurehead is Muhammad himself, the Prophet Muhammad himself. But and I mean, if you're talking about Dalai Lama and Buddhism, that's just the Mahayana school of Buddhism. So that's I would say that Mahayana is not really real Buddhism in that sense. I think the Theravada is more coherent. But anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sarasan kind of proves just the central point I make in different ways. I mean, I'm sure the Quran, and he looks at Islam, and it makes sense to him the way he sees it. The Pope to tell him he's right or wrong.
There are many schools of Buddhism too. Yes, there are many schools of Buddhism. There's a majority view that Muhammad's parents is in heaven. This, I think, is factually incorrect. I don't think it's maybe the majority among Shiites, but I don't think it's the majority view among Sunnis in the broader sense. He said it's like petrol-funded, that the Wahhabi school is petrol-funded. The problem with that is that the schools that he claims to come from is the school of Al-Ash'ari and Maturidi. They were, in many sense, they spread much thanks to the Uthmanic Empire and the Salatin, the sultans there. So if it's wrong to be spread by the country that is actually in the country that Prophet Muhammad died because they have money, then it should also be wrong if it's spread by the Ottomanic Empire. But anyway, maybe hopefully we can...
Abu.
Yes.
Late London attack.
What? London attack. Yes.
I know that I came a bit late to the show. Did anyone mention the London attack?
No, we mentioned it, but I haven't gone into it.
Would you be happy if I just quickly read a statement?
Yeah, I do. Sure.
Thank you. Let me just find it. This is by Andrew Neil, who works at the BBC. Give me 1 second. I think it's a fantastic statement. And okay. So, do you want me to give you a link to the video? You can put it into the description.
Can you put it in the description? Or you doesn't
Well, there's the link in the chat. You can put it in the description if you want.
Yeah.
So this is Andrew Neal commenting on the London attack. And you know Keith Palmer, who was the policeman that was stabbed to death?
Yes.
Keith Palmer had been a copper for 15 years, a husband, a dad, brother, uncle, public servant. Before joining the police, he'd been in the army, defending our nation. He was murdered, defending our democracy, part of our democracy, from a barbarian at the gate. His duty, reminding us of something we badly needed reminding, that the most important people in this are not the rich with this, but those who run to confront the enemies of our
Hello.
PC Palmer, brutally stabbed to death by a jumped-up jihadi, not fit in air as the man he. Now I know there are some jihadi Johnnies out. I think they will triumph because their love of death is greater than our love of life. Do you have any idea who you're dealing with? This is the country that stood up the might of the Air Force of the greatest evil mankind has ever known. If you think we're going to be cowed by some pathetic terrorist in an estate car with a knife, as you are malevolent, yes, you have the power to hurt us. Sometimes the hurt is more than we can bear, not defeat us. Because for every brainwashed, brain-dead Islamist you send to do us harm, we have thousands upon thousands of Keith Palmers, every walk of life and in every part of the land. They come in all shapes, all sizes, all colours, all faiths. They are the British people, and against them, veil.
Nice. Mr. Lamb of God, Abu, can you speak about House of Wisdom? The thing is, next week I will talk about Khawarij, because I think this is so much confusion about this. I mean, House of Wisdom is not really my area of expertise anyways. But yeah, maybe sometimes we can make a show about that. As I said, it's not my area of expertise in any way. So if we're going to do that, we have to make more... it would be nice if more people could collaborate on that. Was there anything more? Naim, do you have anything to say?
No, I want to read the Hadith of the week.
Oh, you have an hadith. Thank you. Okay,
Well,
then I
can't
don't have to
choose
find
anyone,
one.
so it doesn't matter really, but I have
Okay.
just one. And I think we can, or you can close the show, I think. Or do you want to stay here?
No, I'm getting tired. I want to sleep.
See. So you have to just release the screen because you censorship me today.
Sorry.
Because of the petty feelings of Muslims. So from Sahih Bukhari, volume 1, book 3, hadith number 70. Narrated by Abu Bail, Abdullah used to give a religious talk to the people on every Thursday. Once a man said, O Aba Abdur Rahman, I wish if you could preach us daily. He replied, the only thing which prevents me from doing so is that I hate to bore you, and no doubt I take care of you in preaching by selecting a suitable time, just as the Prophet used to do with us for fear of making us bored. And that is somehow important in the lives of Muslims.
Okay, on that great wisdom, I think we say good night and we wish everyone a peaceful week. Hopefully there won't be any more terrorist attacks. Okay, Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.